Parcels. That's it. That's it. Is that the same? I think so.
Madam President, I believe, oh, we're almost there. We are there. Madam President, it's now past 5:30, and I believe we have a quorum. We could start when you wish.
All right. Thank you. We can call this meeting to order. Trenton City Council meeting Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. Please stand for the flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act pursuant to Public Laws 1975, Chapter 231. This agenda is complete to the extent known and was sent to the Trenton Times, posted on the first floor bulletin board in City Hall, and filed in the city clerk's office. Formal action will be taken. Mr. Garcia?
Certainly, roll call. Councilwoman Edwards. Vice President Figueroa Kettenberg.
Present.
Councilwoman Frisbee.
Present.
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
Present.
Councilman Harrison.
Walking in.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilwoman Williams
Present.
and Council President Feliciano.
Present.
Thank you. On your call, Madam President.
May continue.
Madam President, if you would like right now, I'd read the invocation.
Yes, thank you.
Almighty God, who holds the faith of man and nation, we most humbly beseech thee to bless this, our city, these deliberations, and these thy servants, that they may act with wisdom and understanding for the good of our community and thy greater glory. Amen.
Amen.
And Madam President, I believe we have some presentations this evening, and it's my understanding that the first person up will be Director Wilson, correct?
Yes.
Director Wilson, if you're here, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Council. Steve Wilson, Police Director.
Director Wilson, just so you know, I've been informed by the Council President, you have 10 minutes.
Okay,
All right. thank you.
sounds good. All right, so I'm here to speak briefly about the events of this past Saturday, which included the unfortunate killing of 3 people across the river in Falls Township and the carjacking of 2 people, one in Trenton, one in Morrisville. I need to preface my remarks by reminding everyone that this incident is still under investigation and is active, and therefore only limited information will be disseminated. So during the course of an investigation like this, many working parts were initiated. There were approximately 20 agencies, local, county, state, and federal, that were activated. The resources are relative to the investigation at hand and to support public safety. A question I have frequently heard since Saturday is why I did not use a shelter-in-place order or a code red as was done over in Falls Township. First, let's just be clear. Code red for us is something that we'll be activating in the summertime for heat issues, just opposite of code blue that we do in the wintertime when we have sub-degree temperatures. The use of amber or silver alerts is inappropriate in cases like this. And the city does have the capability to issue reverse 911 orders and information. However, the circumstances that existed Saturday in Trenton did not warrant this action. Public information will always be limited on a need-to-know basis. If there had been a citywide threat to public safety, the reverse 911 system would have been activated. This would have been done in conjunction with the Office of Emergency Management. However, we knew that that the person that was involved in this heinous crime was not riding around the city, and he was not shooting at people in the city. We knew where he had abandoned the car from the incident in Falls Township, and our real-time information that we acquired during this operation indicated that the suspect in question was located on Phillips Avenue. When the Mercer County Tactical Response Team evacuated the occupants of the house, real-time information was indicated that he was still in that house. So rather than create unnecessary citywide panic and based on information known at that time, 3-level perimeter was set up around the location. Citizens directly attached were evacuated, and other citizens were pushed out and were ordered by the on-scene resources at the time to remain inside. We always have people who intend to violate that, but they were directed accordingly to get off their porches and to move back into their homes. Another thing that I would like to talk about, social media posting is not a place to inform the public of active police investigations. There was information that was suggested that wasn't accurate. When this happens, it immediately causes wide-scale panic. And in this case, that did happen from what I was told about posts on social media. So in addition, anyone who learns information relative to any active police investigations, I would encourage them to notify the nearest police officer and not post such information on social media. When people post on social media, it is often taken as gospel, and if it is inaccurate, can have a negative impact on the investigation and public safety. Even if information is accurate, dissemination of such information must be weighed against people just wanting to know, just wanting to get likes or follows, and what can result is widespread panic or corruption of the active investigation. So that's about what I have to say about that. Like I said, I can't really talk about the investigation too much because it is still active, but I know that there is an impact on the people in the city of Trenton, and sometimes public safety takes a priority over right to know. And that's what I have to deal with as the police director. That's why I'm here in this position to do just that. And sometimes that's not what folks want to hear, but unfortunately, that's the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Any council members like to address Director Wilson?
Madam President.
Madam Councilwoman?
So I wanted to just say, I wanted to commend our police department. A lot
Thank you.
happened, and this could have gone way worse than it did. I am appreciative. We are quick to criticize when something goes wrong. I want to make sure that we are also commending when something goes right. So to our police department, to the director, to our mayor, to everybody who took part in this, I want to commend you. I believe in stepping back and letting the professionals do their job. If there's an issue, I would hope that we would reach out to you. I saw only a little bit of what was going on social media, not a whole lot of it. I am intentional in not going on social media too much, but I do believe that it can escalate things and people will go out there, which is what they did. And people don't understand that when you are going out there, it is interfering because now they have to protect you along with the others that they are trying to secure. So I would hope that the public would respect that and understand that in order for you to do your job, don't enhance it by going out there and making you have to now possibly bring out even more people that you will have to protect as well. It's not a spectator's sport when someone says that there are shots that are being fired or someone has a gun. You don't know how heavy it is or how low it is. So I just, how light it is. But I want to just say thank you for the work that you and the officers and the other 20 agencies, city, state, and countywide all did to make sure that this went off and that another life was not taken. So thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any other council person?
Council President,
Councilwoman?
I just want to echo my colleagues' comments regarding Service Area 1 and this incident, particularly also working with partner agencies, ranging. I even saw College of New Jersey sent officers out to help with traffic control to Heightstown and many other departments. I do share some of my colleagues' concerns about notification, but I understand strategically, as far as operationally, there are reasons that are sound for why things may not happen in the course that we as in the public may expect. Also, unfortunately, we've been trained in some ways, I think, since the Boston bombing and other issues, Uvalde, Texas, where shelter-in-place orders have been issued. We see them on television. So, I'd like to know, as far as scenarios, if I may ask, and without divulging any operation technical information. Can you, you used a phrase which I thought was interesting, 3-level perimeter. Can you describe to us what that actually means? And I'm not trying to pretend I'm a police officer,
Okay.
but I'd like to understand, because
No,
when people ask
some folks
me
don't understand
what's
that.
going on, maybe, we can.
Okay, that's fine. So when we activated all these resources and they were necessary, and it wasn't just law enforcement resources. Obviously, well, maybe not so obviously, but my partner in public safety, Ken Douglas, was one of the first people I called because we had to activate fire and EMS as well. And fire from outside agencies were here in support of our efforts as well. So anyways, a 3-level perimeter. In this case, on that scene, we had to push the people back all the way to Brunswick and Phillips, MLK and Phillips. And inside that perimeter, the crime scene tape, you saw at certain distances, there was crime scene tape 3 levels inside all the way up to the immediate critical area. So that's what I mean by 3-level perimeter. And we wouldn't have been able to do that without the outside resources coming to help us. And that's what part of that is. We activated the Mercer County Rapid Response, which is the agencies that came here to help us. And it's not just law enforcement. Like I said, West Windsor Fire was here, Hamilton Fire was here as well. Also, our federal partners were here, and everybody offered manpower and resources into this event.
So when you say 3-level, that means
Distances away, and they were actually sealed off by crime scene tape and officers. When the location went public, you would think folks would try to stay away from that. That's not the case. People came running, and we already had the resources in place to prevent them from getting too close. So this is another reason why that wasn't announced, that particular location, because we had to get resources there first, because not only the citizens want to do that, but media wants to get there too, the newspapers and, this and that. They want to get as close as they can get, and people want to Facebook Live it or whatever they have, whatever have you, social media, get on there live. And that's no good. It's a safety issue to the public, and it's also a safety issue to the investigation at hand, because there's certain things that we may not want the general public to know, such as how a special operations unit operates. We don't want people recording that and then taking advantage of specialized training. So.
And then, sir, my second question is regarding, and I think this would help myself and many others. What is the scenario where it would require a shelter in place?
Well,
As far as Trenton looks at it, maybe.
As far as Trenton, it would be similar to any other place. If we actually had active shooter activity going on, shelter in place would have been ordered. We did not have that, and so that's why that was never ordered. Everyone knows that across the bridge, it was ordered, and it was exactly that going on. They had active shooter activity going on there at several different locations. So.
Well, thank you very much for your hard work for the city. And I just want to also thank you for coming here tonight to share your perspective, because I think that will help with a lot of discussions out there. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other council people?
Council President,
Councilwoman Edwards.
thank you.
Mhm.
Good evening, Director Wilson.
Good evening.
Thank you for coming in today and addressing the public with your presentation on the recent active shooting situation. I do want to commend you, along with every other agency that took part in that investigation and pursuit of that person, and the street teams as well for doing their part.
Yes.
That's not to be taken lightly, to be on the front line in a situation like that in pursuit of someone that just murdered 3 people and then carjacked another person. No one knew what that situation was going to turn out to be. So I appreciate you for containing it and doing your due diligence along with everyone else. I'd be remiss if I did not address the lack of alert. That lack of alert resulted in people not taking it serious and had people literally having barbecues around the perimeter that day. They didn't take it serious. People sat on Facebook Live for nearly 6 hours watching that house, sitting just 100 feet away on their front porches and roofs and things like that. I believe an alert being issued, of course, being cautious about divulging too much information so that the perpetrator is not, it's not being alluded to where they are, or at least they wouldn't know that. But to just issue an alert for a shelter in place, to say there's an active shooter, that you don't have to say all the details of it, but just so that people are taking the situation seriously and are not literally driving to an active crime scene. There were rumors the entire time. The neighborhood was communicating on the Ring apps, the Ring doorbell apps, and said that he wasn't in the house and said that he was standing in the crowd with them. And that right there, I don't want to say there's some truth to that or anything, but when there's no alert issue, you leave it open for speculation and rumor, and it gets out of control and people don't feel safe. And some people don't take it serious. It's depending on your personality. But I just want to say that I would have appreciated an alert.
Okay.
And a lot of people would have as well. And I don't think that it would have compromised the investigation if you just didn't say too much. But I'm glad that Bucks County had said something, so I knew, and the public knew there was something going on. So those of us that take things like that serious could shelter in place if they did not feel safe. So again, I want to commend you for your work, but we have to address the alert situation.
Okay, thank you for that. But I'll just comment and say that there was no active shooter here. We knew that. Folks that were inside the perimeter that refused to go back in their homes, they knew what was going on. So an alert wouldn't have mattered. And we had to use our rapid response team to order them to go back inside their house. I know you're talking about. I was at the scene when those folks were on the porch, and Lieutenant Bolanini, who was the operational commander out there, also was aware of it. And when we had the resources out there with the rapid response team, he ordered that they be removed from that porch, and they did eventually go inside. And any information, I mentioned in my little speech here, if there was information that he was somewhere other than that house, to post that on social media and not call the police is a mistake. So like I said, our real-time information indicated that he was in a house. When we evacuated the residents of the location, our real-time information again indicated that he was in the house. When that changed and we received the information that he was not there and possibly somewhere else, it was a matter of like 30 seconds to a minute when he was apprehended. It was that fast when we actually got the information. So we acted on the information that we had in real time. But again, if there was an active shooter, I certainly would have did reverse 911. I would have activated OEM, which by the way, OEM was out on there. Grady Griffin, he's our OEM manager. He was on the scene too. So I did activate all our resources necessary in case this, I want to say got bad, because it was bad enough, but in case it got worse than what we were dealing with, all the resources were in place.
Any other council people? Okay, so Director, thank you to you and to the others that were present to help deal with the situation. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the people in Pennsylvania who did lose their loved ones, because even though life, thank goodness, was not lost here in the city of Trenton, there was loss of life as a result of this person and his actions along the way. So our hearts go out to those families. I too had questioned the fact about no alert, and then the fact that he wasn't found actually in the house where at that time, I guess you thought he was, and then he was like a couple blocks away. So I'm like, how do things like that happen if, you know, we were tracking him or we knew where he was and there was no need because you thought you knew where he was? And so to Councilwoman Edwards' point about just not knowing, right? I can empathize and agree 100% as a civilian, as a resident here, someone riding through town. Yeah, people want to know, and people get nervous and people get upset and scared, and rightfully so. But from the other side of it, as when we spoke and talked about this at length, not knowing the protocol and not being a police officer or detective or anything, there's certain things that we still have to learn along the way as well. I guess from your standpoint of saying because he wasn't actively shooting at that time, there was nothing that would need to, I guess, be said. You evacuated the people from the homes on that street, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you took care of that part of it, but then I guess for the people, and then you had the perimeter blocked off so people couldn't come in and out of that street.
Yes.
While all of that was happening. So again, I thank you for doing what it is, I guess, that you all are well, not I guess, but that you all are professionally trained to do and know to do. But to my colleague's point, just as being someone out here, it would have been nice, I guess, from the civilian perspective to know. So I just ask that as we're asked to understand your perspective, I ask that you understand our perspective as well, because we're learning along the way with you, but we are grateful for the work that you had done. And we're also grateful that it resulted in his capture and no one here got hurt.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So I thank you.
And I do see it from the other side of the table as well. I really do. But I have to make that hard decision. And sometimes it's not easy because I understand wanting to know what's going on in your neighborhood. I really do. But unfortunately, I have to be strategic and I have to think about public safety first rather than people's right to know.
Okay.
So I 100% understand that side of the table.
Okay.
Just in case you didn't know, now you know.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia.
Certainly. I believe our next presentation will be from PSC&G.
Yes.
Thank you. Just bear with me one moment. I'm going to give you a presentation.
Just a moment. It just so we all know, the PSC&G is brought here tonight by Councilwoman Williams about a remediation project that they're going to be working on in the North Ward. Councilwoman, is there anything that you would like to say before they begin?
Yes. Thank you very much, Council President. So a couple months ago, I was asked to meet with PSC&G regarding a remediation project that's going to occur in downtown Trenton, not exactly in downtown, but away off of Warren Street. And it's going to resolve in removing a considerable amount of dirt. The folks from PSC&G will describe this project, but it's a very large project that will involve fencing, tenting. If you ever saw the movie E.T., it's the best way I could describe it. We actually joked about it, that you'll see tenting and people in suits taking things out. Reason being that It's not something where we have to worry about poison going in the air or anything, but it's a very long-standing site that there used to be a gas plant there. And they'll go into the details and technically what's going on, but I thought it was very important for them to speak to the full council, particularly in light of that we've had recent other remediation issues with the grant school. And historically Trenton, we had a Superfund site. We were the very first Superfund site for the Magic Marker site back in 1991. So our city has a history of pollution. Our sister has a history of having to have this removed, and what they described to myself and also meeting with my colleague, Council Vice President, is how they're going to get this soil out of here, how they're going to truck it out of here, and how they'll be able to keep everyone safe. So everyone has the same information. So thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Garcia, you can go ahead and begin the timer. You all can. begin your presentation.
Certainly. Madam President, at this time, I'm getting a little bit of technical difficulty with trying to get the other presentation onto the screen. We were set up for health.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to figure that out at the moment.
Is someone from IT here?
I only wish. Is there anyone from IT here?
Okay, so we'll have to fix
come
that
on.
moving forward.
Hold on, it looks like I got a little bit of help from,
Thank you.
absolutely. Hello, me, thank you.
So we thank everyone for your patience while we're waiting for this. Thank you.
So I was just going to suggest.
Realize it may not help the audience, but you all have the hard copies, so we can kind of flip through it that way if you want, and then we can.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't have one.
So my apologies to the audience for not being able to see. Oh,
There we
they
go.
got it.
All right.
Okay, never mind. We were getting ready to start.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your help. Mr. Garcia, whenever you're ready to start the timer after you get yourself together. Thank you.
Certainly, Madam President. What will be the time limit for this presentation? 10 minutes, thank you. And previous C and G, you have 10 minutes and counting. I understand there should be a slide remote there, and I promise it'll work. That's the one.
Okay. Good evening, council. Thanks for letting us come tonight. My name is Mike Coyle. I'm the Public Affairs Manager at PSC&G. I'm pinch hitting tonight for Frank Lucchese, who had to attend a family funeral on Long Island. So we're here tonight to talk about our gas plant remediation project on Warren Street. We have Kelly Henry and Tom Riley here with us who are do our outreach efforts for this project. So I'm going to turn it over to Kelly to ask her to go through the presentation for you, and then we can answer whatever questions you may have.
Thank you. So Tom Riley and I are dedicated community liaisons. It's a sign of PSC&G's commitment to seeing communications as critical to maintaining safety, which is a #1 priority. It was interesting to hear your previous conversation in terms of communications, and we take communications very seriously. So thank you for having us. And
How's that going for you? No? Then we'll go from here. There you go.
all right. So in terms of what this facility was, and you referenced there's been a lot of pollution, this is historical impacts. If you ever wondered why we call natural gas, it's because at one point we used to manufacture gas. And there was a manufactured gas facility here in Trenton that operated in the 1840s and closed out in 1890. That facility was used subsequently for some headquarters, but in the end, it was decommissioned according to the practices of the day. The impacts that we are looking to address are related to those former historical operations. It is not related to natural gas. And so when you hear me talk about odors, it's not a natural gas odor. This is not an explosive situation. So I just want to make that clear up front. The facility was operated what is now the parking lot near the Department of Labor and near the Division of Taxation. We have completed our delineation of the impacts. We have been investigating the site since the early 2000s. So what you see there outlined in blue is the full extent of impacts to soil. When we address these impacts, it will have a benefit to groundwater, which is also impacted. We will do additional work after we're finished with this work on addressing groundwater. But we already have groundwater monitors in the area. We've gotten a lot of questions about whether there are impacts to the Delaware. There are not. So I just want to also say that up front. What you see is the helipad. I don't know if you're at all familiar with the area. So we have the division, the Department of Labor is northeast of the site. And what you see is that circular area is the governor's helipad, and it's also used for emergency situations. We are working with, in terms of safety and security, we are working with all the state police and others to make sure that our work does not affect the use of that helipad. There's also a small blue square just above that helipad. That area is not impacted superficially. There are impacts at depth. The work that we're going to do is at the surface level. And the reasons that we cannot take that out entirely is because of its proximity to the helipad. But everything to the left of the helipad there, we will be addressing all impacts to soil to depth. The way we're going to be doing that is through excavation. It'll be about 100,000 tons of soil. It's expected that the project will take about 18 months, and we plan to get started around April 15th. When I say 18 months, that is not 18 months of excavation. It will probably take us a good 3 months to prepare the area for what we need to do. Then the work that we do, the excavation is expected to be about 12 months. And then the final 3 months is focused on restoration. It will be restored to what it is now, a parking lot. Soil will be removed and disposed of at a permitted facility. You will see later on in our truck route where the trucks will be going for the main part. We have a primary truck route. And in terms of, well, I guess I covered the restoration. We try to thermally treat the impacts. It can be beneficially reused as a landfill cover. Sometimes that's not always possible. And again, it goes to a licensed facility if pure disposal is required. We're working in accordance with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. That is our regulator. That is who we're working under. We have a number of health and safety plans to prepare every aspect of this project. We will be meeting with emergency personnel on site once we get there so that the fire department, police department, emergency corps, everyone knows the materials that we're dealing with, who to contact if there's a question or a concern, if they get a call, so that we can work cooperatively if there ever is an external reason for emergency personnel to visit. We also have a dedicated on-site safety officer. And again, we see communications as part of our safety program. The work is going to be done under an enormous enclosure. And I smile because as Councilwoman Williams mentioned, we quite often get questions, is it tennis? Is the fair here? Is there tennis courts? All kinds of speculation. We will have a camera in there because likewise people are also concerned when they can't see what's happening. So the reason we have the enclosure is because it helps significantly with managing dust. And it also allows us to work through inclement weather so that we can maintain a more expedited schedule. The enclosure will have to be moved 3 to 4 times to be able to manage the area where we're going to be working. What you see here is a site that we had up in Hoboken, New Jersey, where we used a similar enclosure. And it just gives you a sense of what the tent here will look like. Looking at trying to minimize impacts to the nearby Department of Labor employees and the Division of Taxation employees, we have looked at an innovative approach to managing, basically creating a safe workspace, but also managing groundwater to a certain extent. And that is a freeze soil process. We are going to have pipes installed underground. It's going to be a closed loop system. In other words, we are not injecting anything into the ground. We are going to have a brine circulate, and it will freeze the soil around the area where we're going to be working. And the benefit here is we do not have to install any sheeting. That can create a lot of vibrations, a lot of noise, additional vehicles, and always a safety concern. So this is something that we have used before and has worked very well next to a river. Any surface water that we encounter, because while we are going to have the tent, we still have external areas outside the tent where we'll have personnel and materials. All of that surface water will be managed, as well as any water, groundwater that comes up in the bottom of our excavation, and that will be treated and discharged off-site. And that will be discharged to the City of Trenton sewer utility and is permitted to do that. It will be clean water that goes there, just to make that very clear. Dust is important. The enclosure will go to a long way to managing the dust situation. That's on site. We also recognize that we are trucking off soil and that people have concerns, obviously so, as to anything that might come off of the trucks. All of those trucks will be tarped, and before they leave the site, their wheels will be washed. We have pads there. They are changed on a regular basis, and we will be looking to make sure that we keep a neat area outside of the perimeter of our work site. In addition to managing dust, we also have to look at managing odors and potential vapors. The materials that we're dealing with are volatile organic compounds and also polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. And the reason they're called aromatic is because there are odors associated with some of these materials. The enclosure will help to a certain extent, but we also have vapor suppressant foams. The foams that we are using, we have MSDS sheets. We will be providing those to the emergency personnel, and that also will be posted to a website that's dedicated to this project, and I'll talk a little bit about soon. And the odors, again, are not a natural gas odor. I'll have to ask you, it says 10:03, and I'm sure that I still have time. All right, so. Okay, I don't know if that means I'm 3 minutes over or so.
Yeah, you're 3 minutes over, but because of the technical difficulties and everything, if you don't mind expediting your conversation, we'll allow it to go to 15 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So protecting public health and safety, we're going to have air monitoring, we're going to have vibration monitoring, we're going to have security on site 24/7. In terms of managing truck traffic, what we show on the arrows there are where the trucks will be coming into the site and leaving the site. They will not be using any other access points to the area. And this is the truck route that they will be following. It will be basically South 29 to 129 to the New Jersey Turnpike. We have a dedicated project website. We also have a telephone number, project email. We've been canvassing. We've been meeting with local officials, county officials, and that includes the health officers. Tomorrow there will be an advertisement in the New Jersey, the Trenton Times, because we are having a webinar next week on the 26th. And we're having an in-person community information session over the Division of Taxation building on the 27th. We have flyers, we have fact sheets. We're happy to meet anyone in the back if they have questions. And at that, I'll leave it.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Garcia, if you could stop the clock for a moment, but don't clear it, please. All right.
It stopped.
Thank you. So at this time, again, thank you for the presentation and for the time. Are there any council members that have any questions or anything while she's here? Any statements, anything?
Madam President.
Council Vice President.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for that presentation. I mean, we all need to know, what's going on in our city, our town, especially when big projects like this take place. Residents definitely want to know. I'm sure you said this, and I apologize. How long is this project going to go on for?
Approximately 18 months.
18 months. Okay. So one of the concerns, there's gas pipes being installed, I guess, along Cass Street. Layla Street, not so long ago.
Okay.
But they were being stored in front of people's houses on local roads and things of that nature. It looks like you're going to do what you can to try to avoid that moving forward. I know that was previous to March of this past year. So I just wanted to be assured that that's not going to happen again, that people's parking aren't going to be taken up and, people are not going to be looking at these big pipes for months on end in front of their homes.
There's no installation here. Anything that we need for this project will be staged on site.
Okay. Okay, and the other concern that I do have is the truck route. I assume the trucks can't make it through the tunnel, but it's so problematic for the trucks that are constantly going in and out and turning up Cass Street. That's a high traffic area. Our roads are already broken down there. So is there any alternate route that can be utilized for this project? I know it's a big ask, but it is highly problematic in that area.
Unfortunately not. We did work with the state, but we can't go over the bridge. And you mentioned the tunnel. We basically are looking to go north. And this was the best way not to go through the city of Trenton to get where we needed to get. But we reached out to you because we do understand the concerns there on Cass Street.
Exactly. Okay. And 18 months beginning When to when?
April 15th. But in terms of the truck traffic, again, the first 3 months are going to be focused on preparing the site. There will be more trucks coming in, bringing materials, personnel, trailers, et cetera. But you're not going to see any impacted soil leaving until probably the fourth month.
Real quick about the storage, where they'll be stored on site. But I know I guess in the past, there was some storage right there in that parking lot on Lamberton for Cass.
Okay,
That's kind of it's like a state area now. It's a state parking lot. Will anything be stored there at all?
no,
Thank you.
certainly.
Any of the council people for the remaining time we have here?
Council President, I just wanted to just briefly, just thank you for coming to speak about this, because I know you very much, when I met with you, your entire team wants to have as much public information available as possible, and want the citizens of Trenton, downtown, state workers, everyone to feel comfortable that they're going to be safe as this project's going on.
That's true. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Harrison.
No, my question was going to be the 100 tons of impact soil. What are you going to do with that? Are you going to do something to the soil to remediate it, or what are you going to do with that soil?
So it is trucked off to a licensed landfill, and it will be either thermally treated and then reused as a landfill cover. It will not be brought back. All the soil that is removed is replaced with certified clean fill. And if it can't be thermally treated, then it will just be disposed of at the facility or a similar facility that takes that type of material.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. All right,
Madam President.
all right, really quickly, because we're at 15. Thank you, Councilwoman.
So thank you for the presentation. Actually, it was very thorough, and you answered a lot of the questions that as I was jotting them down. One of the things, I have PSC&G currently working in my ward, which is the West Ward. And we have, just was them, they were asking pipes, piles of all kinds of stuff, and it's a major inconvenience for our community. And so I would like to speak to someone before we leave. But one of the things I would like to know, will there be a foreman on the site that will have, that someone in our community, one of our directors, one of our, someone in our administration will have direct contact to? So if there is an issue, something that is of concern, we know exactly who to go to and that we can get an immediate response from.
Yes.
Okay.
We are looking at that type of communication. It's been requested, and we will be providing, now that we have a contractor recently procured, we will be able to provide that information.
Okay, and do we know who that person will be for our city? Or will you be, will be to the mayor's office? Will it be to, do we know who you will be making the information available to? Will it be to council or whomever? So when we're fielding questions from our constituents, we know who to direct them to.
So we will provide you information so that if they have a concern, there's a direct project line that basically is 1-800-TOM and Kelly. It goes directly to us. And we will be with the project the entire time in terms of continuity. So you know who will be responding. In terms of emergency response, that's why we meet with emergency personnel, so they know exactly who to contact in that situation. In terms of concerns from council and the mayor, we will work with you on who should have that information. So you will have information to provide the public. And then if you need something where you need to talk to us directly, we'll make sure that you have that as well.
Thank you.
Sir,
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Council President.
So I would ask that for this purpose, because Councilwoman Williams, I guess, was the first point of contact with that from the council perspective, you can communicate with Councilwoman Williams. And Councilwoman Williams, I would respectfully ask that you make sure that the council is aware of what's going on during this project. So that way we have updates of what's going on. And so if council has questions outside of that 1-800 number or whatever, we will go through Councilwoman Williams so that we all have one point of contact. So we're not kind of all over the place, right? And so we're getting one source of information. So I'll have that go that way. Thank you.
that works.
Thank you, ma'am. I just had a thought. Since Mr. Coyle's here, PSC&G, not to handle this tonight, but if he can provide his contact information to Mr. Garcia,
Mhm.
this pipe issue is a problem in a lot of the wards, including my ward. I know that
Thank you. All right.
All right.
Thank you so much for your
Thank you
time. We
very much.
appreciate you. So Mr. Coyle, if everyone could please just give your information to Mr. Garcia, please. The presentation is over. Thank you so much, sir. All right. Thank you all again for coming. And we send our condolences to the other gentleman that was supposed to be here tonight on his loss. Thank you.
Madam President, I believe the next presentation we have is Trenton Health and Human Service Department update.
Yes, thank you. There's 15 minutes for this presentation.
Certainly.
Thank you. And we're allowing for Q&A from council and everything on that too. So thank you.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for having us today. And on behalf of our director, Maria Richardson, we want to just say thanks for listening to what we have to say today. Today, I have Officer Green from the animal shelter with us, that if you guys need to ask any direct questions to her, you are also able to do so. She had an impromptu visit today from the prosecutor's office. If you guys have any questions, you can ask. And then Memphis will do the presentation today, and I'll be here to answer any questions that you may have in regards to the presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Memphis Madden. I'm the health educator for the Division of Health Promotion. I know we have a lot of slides, so I'm not going to touch on every single one. I'll just highlight what I feel is most relevant for you guys today. So just starting off with our mission and our values, we are here to make sure that our residents have the tools and the knowledge to basically make well-informed health decisions to preserve their life and their well-being long-term. We function under Administrative Code Title 8, Chapter 52, which outlines our minimum requirements and functions as a department. And here are some of the topics that are covered under Chapter 52, but not an exhaustive list. So moving into animal control. So here's the staff, which Officer Green is over. So some of the infrastructure updates that have happened on the outside, we've got turf, we've got parking lot, fences, and trailers. So all of these things not only enhance our operations, but they beautify our space to draw in some positive public views. And it can also boost the morale of our employees in terms of the space that they work in, which can improve our operations overall and long term. On the inside, we have a dog intake board, which presents photos and a brief history of each and every dog. If anyone is interested in viewing or seeing a dog in person, they do have the opportunity for that dog to be brought out. But this does eliminate some of the liability on the city with having the public just walk through the shelter. The shelter is continuously undergoing training, and we're making sure that all of our staff that are working with the dogs can do so properly and do all of their duties to the best of their ability. There have been some programs that have been implemented. For one, most notably the doggy daycare. Every single one of our dogs gets an opportunity to go outside, to play, to practice simple commands and practice some of their basic life skills and manners as well. And we're also making sure that our dogs are bathed weekly, including the dogs that are kept at the kennel. Public relations has become a core component in encouraging, fostering, adoption, and rescuing. If you go on the Trenton Animal Shelter Facebook page, you'll see lots of photos, videos of our dogs having photo shoots, playing, just lots of positive imagery. And Officer Green has done a great job with facilitating engagement on that page by responding to others, whether they're posting, reaching out to the page through Messenger, or reaching out to her through email. But we're looking forward to seeing more of that positive exposure through some new social media tools as well.
And here's just a capture of some of the comments that have been found on the Facebook page in the most recent weeks. And some more programs that will be brought into the animal shelter. Again, our programming is focused on preserving the dignity of our dogs and making sure that they're still able to enjoy their life and have opportunities for relationship building. So we're really focusing on bringing more attention and outreach to our adoption events. Again, it's about connecting every dog to the home that they deserve. So we want to make that as accessible as possible and seamless for our community as possible. And here are some notable upcoming collaborations and events that we can expect to see from Trenton Animal Shelter in the coming months. So jumping into lead poisoning prevention, we have a lead program which provides case management services to children under the age of 17 who have a venous blood lead level of 5 or higher. And the purpose is to identify those lead exposure methods and try to eliminate those so that we can prevent the child from having any adverse health impacts. So the lead program is a grant funded program, and here's just some of the staff that are maintained through that grant. We also receive in-kind services from the city's Bureau of Environmental Health, who does perform lead inspections in the homes when necessary. So currently we have a caseload of 327 children. This, again, children under the age of 17, blood level of 5 or higher. This includes majority of Mercer County, with the exception of Hamilton and Princeton, half of Somerset County, and 6 towns within Morris County. In the city, we have 5 homes that are also in the process of lead abatement, so methods and measures that are taken to permanently eliminate the lead paint source from that household. So at the end of January, early February, we began conversations with the EPA surrounding some soil sampling that was happening in East Trenton among our residential homes and at Grant Elementary School. So as the results came out, we were informed that the playground area was found to have higher levels of lead within that soil. So the soil part is on the EPA to implement some short-term and long-term strategies. But we were tasked with creating a lead testing program for the students as well as the staff. So we kicked that off last Tuesday. We were able to test through capillary testing 65 students and 16 adults. So for our students, the samples are going to be sent to a lab for processing. The lab will send the results back to us. For anything that comes back higher than 5, we will reach out to the families and let them know what comes next. Usually the next step is for them to get a second test through a venous blood draw to confirm that indeed they do have a high lead level. If that comes back 5 or greater, we'll be notified through the state system, and that child will automatically be enrolled in our program. So of our adults, we did a different method for them. They were able to get results within 3 minutes. But of the 16, none of them had high blood lead levels. And here's just a few photos. We'll quickly go through our grants. Again, the Childhood Lead Grant is funded by NJDOH. In addition to staff, it helps us to buy supplies, equipment, fund campaigns, and anything else that we need to distribute to the homes that we do visit. We also have an emergency preparedness grant, which gives us funds to keep supplies to respond to large-scale public health emergencies. So through this, we're also updating the city's emergency response plan and our point of distribution manual sites. COVID-19, our activities functioned under the CRI grant. So at this time, since everything's been commercialized, we have applied to and been accepted to the state's COVID-19 funded program. So right now we're just tying up some details and loose ends in terms of how we're going to store those vaccines. And here are the groups that we're allowed to distribute to and the ways that we're able to do that. We're also looking to partner with some local pharmacies because they have a lot more flexibility than we do. We also have the Strengthening Local Public Health Capacity Grant. This is around health education. It started out of COVID, but it's expanded since. So this allowed us to get additional staff to our team, also for supplies, technology. It's all about just getting more materials that we can give out to the public. We also have the Vaccine Supplemental Funding Grant, also starting out of COVID. This is our 3rd year, and this is to help us to maintain our vaccination activity. So syringes, needles, biohazard bags, boxes, things of that nature. And lastly, we have the Enhancing Local Public Health Grant. This is a new grant endeavor for us, sponsored through the New Jersey Association of County and City Health Officials. This is all about improving our infrastructure as a team, but we're also able to use this for our building. So the funds we're looking to put into a roof repair, having a security camera system implemented, and we're also going to use the funds to pay for the city's PSA with Trenton Health Team to kind of cut on those costs. So here's just an overview of where we have been in the past year, some of the places that you guys have may seen us while you've been out and about. And along with that, some of the things that we're doing while we are actually out there. So we're always looking for new ways and opportunities to reach and connect our community. And we've also reaffirmed our commitment to continuing education with the implementation of an employee development program. So we meet monthly to do workshops with other organizations. And with that, I just want to thank you for your time and attention.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Many thanks to you, excuse me, all, excuse me, Ms. Graffy Cooper and your team. Wonderful. Thank you to Director Richardson for allowing the periodic updates, right? We had said before that we wanted to have periodic updates, so we'll look again in another 3 months to have you come back, tell us what's going on, so we're just aware and the public is aware of what's happening. I just have a quick question, going back to the animal shelter really quick. How many dogs do we currently have in the shelter here in Trenton?
55.
55. And just to remind us, what is the maximum we should have in there?
20.
20. Okay. So with that, I know, and thank you for the doggy daycare and all that running around and everything like that. Approximately how many hours a day do the animals stay in the kennel?
I will say about 6 hours. So there are only 20 dogs held in the kennel. The rest of the dogs are in crates.
So would we then say that 6 hours for the dogs in the kennels and in the crates?
Yeah.
So 6 hours?
Well,
they
the
stay-
inside dogs in the crate, they get out frequently, like every minute of the day. The ones in the kennel that holds 20 dogs, they get out about an hour or two.
Okay. How many dogs are in Pennsylvania?
56.
56. How often do they get out? Do we know?
Yeah, so those dogs get out daily. It's a boarding facility, so they're required to have the dogs walked and at least twice a day.
So at least twice a day?
But yes, they have to be, and some of the kennels are already outside, so
Mhm.
they really don't have to walk the dogs. They're long, so the dogs are able to run back and forth with the outside kennels that they have. And I
Okay.
think a majority of their kennels are on the outside, so that they have, they could run back and forth.
Okay. And so then, because if our allowable number was 20 and we have 55, are we still being fined? Are we fined by the state for being over a certain amount per day or?
Well, we can be fined, but because Trenton is not the only city that has this
Issue.
overflow of animals,
Mhm.
they're being kind of lenient on
Okay.
everyone, because this is not a Trenton problem, it's a statewide,
Yeah.
almost universal problem we're having right now.
Okay, thank you. And then when it comes to the new animal shelter, where are we with that?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Maria Richardson. With the new shelter,
Mhm.
we are basically right now working on two different locations. One of them, it's basically contingent on the city recovering a property that the city owns and that we would like to use, not for the shelter, but as a, I am not in the liberty to talk too much about that.
That's fine.
But that is it's a location that it has a contingency.
Okay.
The other location that we reported before, we are in the process of waiting for the state process to start doing soil remediation. So we are considering two locations, but we didn't stop to wait for the other location. Whatever comes first, we are going to proceed ahead with that location. So we are waiting for the contingencies to be solved in one location, and with the other location, we are waiting for remediation process.
Okay, so we're still working on a location.
Yes.
was basically.
And I am not sure if Yvette and Memphis mentioned earlier about the trailers. I wasn't here when they started, I think. But the trailers are already completed, and we are just waiting for, in 2 weeks, we will have the trailers operational.
Thank you.
So that, yeah.
Okay. Any other council people have questions?
Council President?
Yes.
So I have a few questions as both of these issues affect my ward, the North Ward. So regarding lead, can you tell us where we stand on testings? I know when we had a meeting last month, the plans were to start getting the testing going with kids at the school. So I'd like to find out where we are with getting that initiated.
Yes, so we actually started last Tuesday. We did 65 students, but we're
Sorry, it was hard to hear that from us.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we did 65 students, 16 staff members. We're actually going back tomorrow afternoon. We'll be at Grant from 4:30 to 8 p.m.
Okay, so how many more rounds do you think it's going to take to test everybody?
It kind of depends on how many parents show up each time. So our goal is to hit all if we can, but it depends on how many show up each time we offer.
Okay, excellent. And then, so this 65 would be in addition to the ones that were tested previously?
So the 65 that we have, that's our first 65, first set.
But the ones that were tested before are,
So I think what she's asking is the lead program that we have, yes, we already have families that were already in the program. That's the 327. The 65 is in addition to that.
okay, thank you.
And then we'll continue to test each child from that school. And we also are testing their siblings. Even if they go to another school, if they're in the same household, we also let the school know that they could bring families, and we'll test families until everyone is tested.
Okay, and are we partnering with Lead Free New Jersey and East Trenton Collaborative as far as helping to recruit and encourage folks to get tested?
Yes, we are. And they will be there tomorrow. We also partner with Isles, who will be doing some of the abatement for the families. So Isles will also be there with us tomorrow. The issue is that we can only, the company that sends us the tests will send the test to us in 100 at a time. And they're doing that for a specific reason, so that they don't want us to send them 600 test results that they have to then get the results and input into their system. So each week we will be sending them 100, 120, which makes it a lot easier for them to input without error into their system. And we let the school know that we'll be there for as long as we need to get this done.
Okay, thank you. And I just have a couple of questions about the animal shelter. So as far as spay and neutering, is that still going on weekends at all? Are there any particular events coming up? Because we do get questions from dog owners and cat owners who would like to get their dogs or cats spayed and neutered.
You mean spayed and neutered at the shelter?
Yeah, at least I've been told that we offer free services or very minimal cost services, but it's on Not on an every Saturday basis. Is that not true?
No, that's not
Okay. So we've never offered that service,
for spade, for the animals that we take in,
but not for someone who's a
but not for,
citizen who
not
wants
for
to.
a owner or a pet owner. No, we don't have a service that they could just bring them in and get them spayed and neutered. Or just the cat folks.
Just the
I don't
cat-
like to
for
call it cat
cats.
people, but
Okay,
the
so-
cat folks have their own system of doing that for the cats, but for the dogs, we don't have funding, or we don't have a program that they could just bring their owner.
Okay,
dogs
if I
in.
may ask, if you'd be kind enough to let us on council know what the cat program is and when that's available, because I have had cat owners come up to me and ask me about when, about getting that done.
So that will be Trenton Cat Rescue.
Okay, so is that done at our facility?
No, there's no
So
medical.
they do that on their own, on an
Yes.
offsite location?
Yes.
Okay, so that clears that up for me. And the other question I have for you is, because this is also, I think is part of systemically an issue we have in Trenton about basic dog ownership and caring for animals. Would there be any possible way, and I know this, you have enough on your plate, to maybe offer a basic dog ownership class, even if it was a small fee for it? Because kind of like, we actually do an excellent job at Citizens Police Academy. But I see, and I know some of my colleagues, we constantly witness people who actually probably do not know kind of some of the basics on handling an animal, or even leashing an animal, or things that would make their ownership more pleasurable experience, but also maybe help them engage in the system a little bit. And particularly for new dog owners who adopt from the animal shelter.
So when we have adoption events or a person coming in to adopt a dog, we usually tell them how to control the dog and what kind of collar to get and how to use the leash. And if the dog pulls on a leash that they're taking home, we show them how to keep the dog right close to you. And most of the time our assessor is there. And if she's not, and that person has a problem with their dog, we'll connect them too. So she can help them out with any issues.
Well, if that's something maybe we could offer just even on a quarterly basis, to offer a class, even if it was just one night to current homeowners, current dog owners who aren't adopting, I think that might help us overall in the city as far as, animal control. And also as far as you go in some neighborhoods where the dogs just kind of run free because the owners let them off a leash and they're not just even following basic commands.
So our behavior release will be able to conduct, if we want to set a time frame, but we have a behavior release that will be able to do that.
Okay. All right. Thank you very.
Thank you. Any other council people?
Council President.
Yes, ma'am.
So most of my questions were answered as far as the animal shelter. Council Feliciano, Council President asked most of those, but real quick question. How many volunteers and how many employees do we currently have at the animal shelter?
We currently do not have any dog volunteers. We have a few cat volunteers, but that's a different organization, so I'm not sure of the numbers.
Okay.
I don't even know how many employees.
And the employees?
There's like about 12 employees right now.
Thank you. And one other question as far as the lead program. Thank you so much actually for doing that and getting those kids tested. But can you also speak to that? Anyone can ask or call in to schedule to get a lead testing done in their home?
So the grant that we have only allows us for the age of 17 in the household and under.
Okay.
If someone wants to have lead testing, that's why we partner with Isles, and they can get a free lead test through that program.
So through Isles. So they would
Yes.
contact Isles to get the testing done.
And Isles is at the testing site that we have, passing out the information to the parents to say, if you would like to have your home tested, they will test, and they also do the abatement if anything is found.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think that's
Council
it.
President,
Yeah.
may I add something to that? Recently, this council passed an ordinance that would allow, that actually requires the city or a private contractor to do lead testing in houses that are rented, in rental houses. So according to that ordinance, Every time that there is a turnover in a house or every 3 years, the houses need to be tested for lead. We already started implementing that, and we already have received either certificates of compliance or non-compliance, but that will be a requirement to issue a CO for the rental property.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just talking about more like anyone, they can call in for aisles though, not the city. So that's good to know.
And they can.
Okay.
I'll made that open, and the program that the director is speaking about was it was a law that was put in 2 years ago, but come this July, they're gonna start implementing fines. So it really does take mass effect come this July.
Thank you so much.
Madam Vice President, and then Councilwoman Frisbee.
Good evening, guys. So the response about no volunteers, I know that there were stated problems with volunteers at the animal shelter before for the dogs. Is there any efforts to bring in new volunteers to assist with day-to-day activities within the shelter and to follow the protocol of the handbook?
I would like to right now clean up what I have going on before I bring people in. So I would like to, once I complete that, I would like to have volunteers only on the weekends, because that's when we're the shortest staff.
Okay. And recent reports have been coming in that dogs are being brought to the shelter and being denied. Is that happening? Can you explain that?
It's not happening with me. And anytime someone send a problem to my phone, I go out and get the dog. So I can't speak on what was happening before my presence, but right now it's not happening.
And also it depends on whether this is an owner surrender dog or if it's a rescue, because the shelter is so overcrowded. We're not mandated to take the dogs that they're surrendered, but we have to take the ones that are strays that are stray dogs. So even though we are over the capacity of what we can do, we still have to take the dogs that are strays. But if someone just, surrender their dogs, we are allowed by the state to say we don't have room.
Yeah, the reports that I had received were of lost dogs, just wandering around. So I just wanted to know about that. And I understand that we are overcrowded in a shelter, but I just want to know if there was any type of mandate or anything about having, and you just answered that, about having to accept the dogs. Okay. So if the two new possible shelters that are, coming to, will the number of 20 animals allowed, is that a state mandate, or would that change with either one of the new facilities?
That would change with a new facility. We will try to have a facility that would be able to house, I think we were talking about 70 dogs. However, we always need to remember that it's not going to be a puppy hotel, right? That we are not increasing the space to, instead of having 55, then we will have 125. So we will be crowded again.
Okay. And what are the actual hours of operation, and are the doors closed to people at any time during the shelter hours?
We get there at 7 a.m. We're done cleaning about 9 a.m. That's when we open our doors to the public.
Okay.
Our physical doors are open constantly due to cleaning in and out and bringing the dogs in and out.
Okay. Okay. But people can't come to the shelter and kind of walk through the kennel and see, what dogs run up to them or anything,
Due to the high number of dogs we have there, it's best to not let the public in to walk around, because the dog can snag anything, which is why I created the dog intake board at the entrance. So if they seen a dog and say, hi, I like Tony, I can say, I can bring Tony out for you, but you can't walk through the facility.
Okay, so they don't need an appointment. They could just come.
They don't really need an appointment unless they're physically taking a dog home that day.
Okay. And since when did you take over the position as manager?
January 15th.
Can you tell me how many dogs have been adopted since then and how many dogs euthanized?
Paperwork. Just as the estimate, I had it written on a paper, I'm gonna say about 20 to 30 dogs, maybe 25 dogs been adopted. Euthanized, we did about 15.
Okay.
We had about 15 go to rescue also.
Rescue, okay.
I would like to add, all the dogs that we did euthanize were due to behavioral problems.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. Like, what is the process other than a timestamp?
So, no.
Yeah.
So the assessor would come in and she would assess certain dogs, and especially the new ones that we just intake, and we'll wait for her to give her report on the dog. And once she deem it adoptable, that's when we make appointments.
Okay, 2 more questions, I promise, quick. One is, where are we at with the legal breeders? Have we gone after any of the legal breeders that have been reported since the ordinance got passed?
Okay, thank you for asking that question. So I know that the ordinance was put in for the breeding. The issue with that is it's very hard to implement that, because some of the stipulation in that ordinance, there's nothing in the ordinance that talks about consequences for individuals that do not follow that breeding procedure that was put into place. So there is an application, there is a background check procedure. I mean, there are things put in place, but without the resource and the staff to implement, it makes it very hard. So for example, if we are saying they can't, breed and sell if the dog is under 10 weeks old, who monitors that? Like, who goes out and makes sure that these breeders are not selling the dogs at certain age? Or who is it that's going to go out and make sure that they're following the proper protocol? We do not have the staff to implement the breeding. And also there's nothing in there that talks about if someone abuse a dog, or if they have a legal issue, what are the terms? Can every and anyone be a breeder as long as they apply? So there's some things in that ordinance that we would need to do a little brush up on in order for that to be fully implemented, because it is hard for us with the staff we have and the way it is written. It is hard for us to put any consequence if someone decide that they don't want a license, or if we catch someone breeding, we don't have the consequence. Like, what are the consequences and who's going to implement those consequences? Because for my staff and I, or even the ACOs that are so limited, unless we have police or somebody else you can't just walk up to today day and age to somebody's house and say, we're going to do A, B, C, and D. So it needs to be a little bit more tight, and it has to include more agencies and more backup system for if we go out and do the implementation.
Okay, that's good input. Thank you. I know that we had assessed fines and stuff when we're not properly permitting to breed and things like that. So that's really good information. And I have no problem going back to the board and, tidying up. But I just want to know, like, once we do all that, are we going to have the means to implement? Are we going to have the means to enforce?
So once you put it in that this is what we're going to do, then we also would need the funding and resource to have it done. So that would be something else that would need to be looked into. So whatever is in it, we need the funding and we need the resources to implement. So just because there's one put out, if there is no resource, how do we say don't breed if we don't have the people to be monitoring?
Okay, and I'm sorry, the emu, really quickly. I know I spoke to Director Richardson about it. I just wanted to know, was there a formal investigation report that was provided to TAS with regard to the emu getting back out after it was returned back, and to the emu having proper living conditions as per, I believe, an investigation by the prosecutor's office?
So yes, we had that call about 2 months ago, the first call. We went out there, we wrote our report. We've never seen nothing like that in Trenton. So we then contacted Fish and Wildlife, and they got in contact with the state prosecutors. They came out and visit the residents and deemed it okay to have. Last week it got out and it was running around. I actually went out there, we caught it and placed it back in its owner's yard. We also told the owner that he needs to fix his back gate. With the heavy winds, it was easy for it to keep getting out.
But you deemed the premises appropriate for that emu to remain
This state deemed it.
right? But you're.
I wouldn't have
Personal
deemed it,
assessment.
no.
No, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I just have two really quick ones. One, I want to thank you for a very thorough, quick presentation. You guys do a lot, and I'm glad that the public gets to hear all that you actually get to do, that you not get to do, that you actually do in our community. One of the questions, and you may have answered this, I did hear you say with the lead testing that the 16 school staff that they tested negative. That is correct. The 65 students, did we get results back on them?
Not yet. So we mailed them off the following day. So has to go to Colorado. So there's the mailing time, and Tamarack, who's the company that provides us with the filter paper, said between 2 to 5 days, and then they'll fax everything back. So we're kind of using this, since we did under 100 and we know that their capacity was for a quick turnaround was 100, to see how soon they can turn results around.
Okay, excellent. And then my last question is for the COVID testing. I saw it in here with folks who have no insurance and those who have limited insurance. Will it be free to the public? And if so, where will those locations be?
Yes. So under the guidelines, if they're underinsured or uninsured, it's absolutely free. We can do those who have insurance, but it has to be under a setting where checking for insurance would slow down our process and keep us from getting as many arms and shots or shots in arms. So that's where I was mentioning that we have some bounds, but we can do it. So for things like that, if we just want to capture everyone, we would have to do it at a community-wide event or be at an outreach event, just partnering with someone else to have that open space. But as far as we just want to do under or uninsured, I believe we can restart operations right at our clinic at 218.
And I believe we have a mobile vehicle. Do we have a mobile vehicle? I'm thinking of someone else. That's probably the Red Cross.
So no,
Yeah.
we don't have a mobile, we don't have a mobile COVID vehicle.
We don't.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's Henry J. Our seal is on it. But
And-
it is their van.
Okay, thank you.
But they operate it.
I just have one quick question. Ms. Graffy Cooper, when the ordinance was put together, were you in on any of the meetings for that?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so as we look to recraft this, you make sure everybody that needs to be present is present. And that's for everything that we look to do, right? We need to definitely make sure that we involve all the right people in the administration in the room. So as we put these things together, we know that we can go out, we can enforce, and we can make it, worthwhile for us to do it. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your presentation, and for answering our questions. Thank you.
For having us.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Sorry.
Mr. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Councilman Harrison. I'm sorry, sir.
Yes, my question was, was stated, was it 55 that are at the shelter, dogs?
55 at the shelter, 56 at our holding facility
So it's 111 dogs
and counting.
and counting. Have we ever thought about chipping the dogs? So if the dogs are in the shelter or if anybody's breeding dogs, that they chip them. So in case if they decide to dump them on the street, we can scan the dog and realize, hey, whoever is breeding these dogs, this was one of his dogs that he dumped on the street.
You strip them and they come in. as a
It's an ideal from a friend of mine.
Scan them.
Yeah, so are you asking, can we chip the dogs?
Right, if the dogs are in the facility, right, the dogs are there, we could chip those dogs. But if regarding breeding, can we mandate that when people are gonna breed those dogs, that they have to chip the dogs? So in case if they decide they breed so many dogs, they don't dump them on the street and then they become an issue that we have to deal with.
So again, we can mandate that, but how do we monitor that? So if we do a mandate, we really would need somebody to go around with a chip machine to make sure the dogs are chipped. So we can mandate that, but we also going to need the resources to make sure that we could implement that mandate.
Well, when they're doing their license too, right? When they renew their license?
That's not a requirement for the
Right,
license.
that's what I'm saying. Should it be a requirement though?
Well, we can't make a requirement that's more stringent than what the state put forth. But you could put, the council can decide that that's something that Trenton wants to do.
Right.
But there's nothing in place for that right at this moment.
Okay. Also, I know we talked about the emu. I know we were, another instance is about the chickens. I tried to explain to my colleagues, and I think they've realized that Camden, Newark, Ewing does not allow emus and chickens. And I think we need to, actually all over the city, we need to hire more inspectors too. We have a lot of issues here, but there needs to be accountability. And I think seems to be a problem. And you're right, the emu, I don't think most people know when they have emus, if you leave the emu out in your backyard and it's not covered over, water gets on it. And what happens is it gets pneumonia and it can die. So that's my concern about, like you said, about an emu. You might have it in an enclosure, but if it rains on it, it's going to get a pneumonia and it can end up dying.
So I think that's where the education piece comes in.
Right.
So if we get the funding and the resources, then we could actually, a great idea, we could put the resource together that we can have these semi-classes that we could, if this animal is allowed, that we can teach how to properly care for the animal and talk about enclosures and so on and so forth. Because even though they may not know, it is still cruelty if the animals are not treated properly. So I think that's a great idea to do the classes. But again, with everything that we do in the city, funding has to be available in order to do so.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Mr. Garcia,
Certainly, on your call, Madam President.
you can proceed. Thank you.
Certainly, Madam President, we've reached the point of public comment. If I could have the public comment clipboard, thank you. And for the public comment will be reduced to not reduced, excuse me, but will be limited to 5 minutes per person. You, Council President, we have 8 individuals listed here for public comment, as I see. And to the public, you may address anything that you wish during public comment. The council is not obligated to respond. First person for public comment we have is Chris Bukowski.
Members of council, thank you for letting me take the time to address you. First, last time I was here, I addressed the council concerning the proposed ordinance 24015. And I spoke on the benefits of backyard poultry, as did a few others. Tonight, I'd like to address the proposal itself. In short, it's the wrong ordinance for the city. And just for the record, Trenton does allow chickens. Trenton allows chickens, and so does Newark. They just have to be registered. Madam President, at the last meeting, you spoke of meeting people where they're at and better using the resources we do have to do more with less and better leverage city assets. I heard you, and I agree with you 100%. I took what you said to heart, and I believe that's the right approach for the city. The proposed ordinance is the opposite of that way of thinking. At best, the ordinance, as we heard from the last speakers, it would be nearly unenforceable. If the current law that we do have on the books didn't prevent any of the abuses that this is supposed to address, how will the inclusion of circus animals improve the situation? At worst, it makes criminals of otherwise law-abiding and responsible Trentonians. Any enforcement that did happen, as evidenced, would be almost random and seemingly arbitrary to many of our citizens. And there's nothing more unfair than selective justice. It has been my experience that the vast majority of people are good people, people who are law-abiding and strive to be good neighbors, good citizens. Given that, I would suggest that the council take a different approach here. Instead of restricting and punishing our neighbors, Why don't we try and teach them to reach out, support them? We all acknowledge that there's already law in the books that regulates the keeping of animals in the city. I'm going to ask, is it working? Is it achieving its intended purpose? I would say it's not. Otherwise, this wouldn't be an issue. The law isn't working now, and one course could be the one proposed. I could see that. We ban everything. Everything's restricted. And infractions will be punished with the full weight of the law. But we can already see the issue here. The current law isn't enforceable. Even so, what hope do we have that the draconian method would be even easier? But there's another path we can choose here. Instead of making things harder, we can make things easier. Craft a law that makes it easier for people to come forward, to look to the city as a resource rather than something to hide from. Make it free to register pets and animals. And when people register, help them get the resources to be responsible owners and responsible neighbors. Encourage the community to come together here. Maybe, this might be crazy talk, I know, the city could actually promote urban agriculture. 85 years ago during World War II, people were encouraged to plant what they called victory gardens, to practice what we now call urban agriculture. Cities around the country bloomed. Neighbors shared their extra produce. Parks had plots set aside for onions and potatoes. And the cities promoted it with seed banks, with setting up produce swaps, and by providing resources like mulch and compost to anyone who was interested. If our grandparents could do this, why can't we? This time, not to help feed the troops overseas, but as many Trentonians might need for feeding ourselves and our neighbors. The law doesn't need to be Big Brother, surveilling us, punishing us. It can be a grandmother that helps us and guides us to do better. We want our neighbors to help each other, not just inform on each other. We're not Hamilton or Ewing, Camden, Newark. We're Trenton. And I want us to be Trenton. I want to be here in Trenton with our own needs, our own problems, our own resources. We can help ourselves. We all want Trentonians to help each other, not cower in fear from each other. I urge this council to think hard on what kind of city we want to see outside these walls and how the laws you enact work to that end. I'm all for doing more with less. But what if we can do more with more?
Thank you. Our next individual is Cal Stallworth. Cal Stallworth, is that correct? Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm here. I live over on
Mr. Stallworth, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Nope, you got it.
over on Ohio 1137. My issue is the new parking guys and women that have been hired. Now, I've been in my neighborhood. I moved there for a reason. You know, the wife is disabled. She can come up the back steps. The steps are too high for the front. I've been there 10 years, love my home. But all of a sudden now, in the last 3 years, I'm starting to get parking tickets, which I have a work van. You know, and where I work, it's work van, all my ladders and tools there, park in front of my house. So I come out, I get a parking ticket. So I go to find the police officer and he says, I would never, ever give you guys a ticket, you know, for parking in front of your house because, you know, you need to watch your tools. So I called down, they said, well, you know, it's zoned for not commercial work trucks. I said, okay. They said tractor trailers and all that. We don't have tractor trailers. We don't have street signs. We don't have no parking signs. So I've been there 10 years. So So I said, okay, fine. Once a year, I get a parking ticket, $75. I mail it. I said, okay, that's the price for me staying where I live at. That's my fee. I'll pay it. And they leave me alone. Now, then next year, I don't know if the new officers or what. Next year, I get another ticket. I just pay it, fuss a little bit, pay it. It goes away. So this morning, yesterday, I took my granddaughter to school, came back, 10 o'clock, went in the house, came back. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. There's a ticket on my truck, 10 o'clock, not at night where I normally get them. So now the ticket people are starting to ride by and say, hey, you got a ticket, but I have a work van. 10 o'clock, everybody's supposed to be at work or going to work. So, but this is in the daytime. So I said to my council person, so if I'm in the house working on somebody, plumbing with, most people gonna call the handyman in the van, in the whatever, and they gonna call. And so if I'm in the house working, I come outside, I got a ticket, so I'm like, okay, well, that's not right, with this. So she says, well, you're supposed to park. I said, okay, New York Avenue is 3 blocks from my house. So that means I got to park where the trailers park at, walk back 3 blocks to get a pair of pliers, fix the thing, walk back over there, 3 blocks over, and come back to work in my truck. I said, ma'am, I don't think that's fair, to me. I said, I'm a citizen, pay my taxes, I vote, I do all that good stuff in there. And I said, it's just, not right. And I said, well, okay, maybe I need to find me somewhere else to stay or move. I said, because it's an inconvenience for the wife because she's disabled. She can't get up those front steps. So they said, well, we have to find ways to figure it out. I said, yeah, but I'm not somewhere. I said, you imagine the guys in my community, all the contractors that talk about this, they're saying, where do we park at? Everything I own is in that van. If I parked on New York Avenue, got up the next morning, all my tools gone. That's $8,000 worth of tools. Now, doors open, I call the police, they say, oh, well, there's nothing we could do about it. Close the door. So I'd rather park in front of my window, pay them their $75. So at least if I look out the window, I can see them running down the road with my tools. Maybe I have a chance to catch them. That's my livelihood. But all the guys in this community is talking about this. They have nowhere to park their trucks, their vehicles, and some of the cars nowadays are just as big as my work van. So if Miss Mary's saying it's not enough room for her to park, but I think I have just as much right as she do because I'm a taxpayer also, and I pay my taxes and I vote and I do all that stuff. So even where something needs to be done, I said, okay, charge me $75 for the year so I could park. At least you could say you're not required 2 or 3 cars, but if you got one work van, fine, that could go in the neighborhood because if you move them out the way, what we gonna do? I go to the grocery store, pick my kids up. I do everything in my work van, and stuff. And, and that's the thing that's bothered me, that I got a ticket yesterday morning at 10 o'clock in the morning. They riding through and it's like they taking us with a vengeance. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Stallworth, I would ask that you and other people that are going to speak for public comment, just kind of wait around for a few minutes for our civic comment, because I have a feeling that some of our council people may want to address what it is that you have to say, which is why we move civic comment up.
Gotcha.
Because I want to give the council the opportunity, if they want to say something, to the people that say something publicly. All right. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
Mr. Stallworth. Jill Wolford.
Good evening, council. I'm here in support of 24-115, the honorary sign of Joseph and Mary Ravenel. You know my name already. I am a minister at Samaritan Baptist Church, ordained by Bishop Ravenel in December 2017. During my tenure here, I've seen the work of our pastor. I've seen the work of our late First Lady, all that they've done at that corner for more than 45 years in this city. our birthday of our Baptist church would be 50 years old. And the work that Bishop Ravenel and his late wife, Ariel Mary, and the impact on the citizens and that community is immeasurable. Through our food pantry, we have served over 100,000 families and still serving today. Through our vacation Bible school, we have impacted more than 4,000 youth. Through our basic program, more than 78,000 youth, and many more programs that the Samaritan Baptist Church, under the leadership of Bishop Ravenel, has impacted. And those youths are talking about vacation Bible school today in their 30s and 40s years old right now. And they're saying how they were loved by these two people. So that is why I'm here. I'm here in support of that honorary sign. Bishop and Elder Mary Ravenel was not just pastors to Samaritan, they were pastors to the neighborhood. They knocked on doors asking the citizens, how are you? How are you doing? What do you need? Of course, prayer. The lives that they touch is immeasurable. Even in today, they come by and beat the horn if they see Bishop Ravenel out there. So that's why I'm here in support. I'm 24-115 to honor our pastor and his late wife, Elder Mary Ravenel. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is AS Asiani. Is this, you know what? ASIANICOLEB, I guess. Is that Asiani Nicole Brown? Did I get that right? Are they still here? Last name, I'm gonna guess this is Brown. Am I anywhere close? We'll come back to you. Jay Ford.
Hello, my name is Janelle Ford. I want to touch base about housing in Texas. Excuse me. Is the taxes being raised for the landlords for the properties? Because I want to know, because the rent is too high for a lot of people to afford. And I just have a question.
Ms. Ford, just so you understand, you can address the council with whatever you wish, but they're not obligated to respond to you. So if you do have a question, they may or may not choose to respond to you at this time, or that question may be addressed in their civic comments after public comment.
Oh, okay. My apologies.
Okay.
That's what my next, I wanted to know, is there a program for housing for women or families? Because we are the capital of New Jersey, and I noticed that there was a program in Camden and in Newark that they have to give families housing. I heard you speak on that you was going to board up the houses, the abandoned houses, the last meeting. And instead of boarding them up, I want to know is there a program that is available for the families to obtain the housing instead of boarding them up? That was my question. So if you don't want to answer them, that's fine.
So it's not about us not wanting to answer. If you just give us a moment during our civic comments, someone may touch on it. But as he explained, during this time, we listen to hear what everyone has to say, and then we divvy it up and figure out if we can answer, or if we could direct you to the right person that can help you with your question. Okay.
That's what I meant. Yes, thank you.
All right, honey. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your.
Is that your juice, your water, your bottle? Thank you. Mr. Garcia.
Certainly. Kathleen Deal.
Hello, Council. Kathleen Deal. I live at 19 Greenwood Avenue. I'm going to wear a couple different hats tonight. I'm going to start with President of the Trenton Cycling Revolution. This coming Saturday at Artworks from 4 to 8, we have our open house. As part of the open house, we will have a bike parts swap. We will have vendors. Our local Orchid House will be there. The One Up, One Down Coffee House will be there. Cafe Ohala will be there. It's going to be a great opportunity for some of our partners for Complete Streets to be there. The regional partner, Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission will be there. Mercer County Action Team will be there. Lawrence Hopewell Trail will be there. I hope to see some of our council members attend. One of the fun events that we have going on there is Gold Sprints. If you're not familiar with Gold Sprints, it is 2 stationary bicycles side by side. Members of the public get on top of the bicycles and have a competition to see who can pedal the fastest. And it's one of the great events that creates camaraderie in our bicycle community. So I hope to see you there. To also back up what Mr. Cal said earlier, parking enforcement has been a little overboard lately. I am a Mill Hill resident. I have a Mill Hill permit in the back window of my car. Front Street has a section between Broad and Montgomery that is allotted for Mill Hill residents only. I was ticketed because they didn't take the time to look at my back window of my car to see that I have a Mill Hill permit in my back window. And I emailed my councilwoman, I emailed the leadership of DPW to let them know that their officers are not even looking for the permit in the back window of my car. So that's an issue. Also, to back up what Mr. Bukowski said, I am a fan of backyard chickens. The ordinance that is proposed also addresses exotic birds and iguanas. And I know neighbors in the community who have exotic birds and iguanas who are responsible pet owners. One of the interesting stories out of Mill Hill over COVID, we had a neighbor who had an exotic bird who actually flew out, and it actually became somewhat news that the bird actually landed on an inmate in Trenton prison, and that inmate turned the bird over to the guard. And it was a quaint story that the inmates actually were really excited to see this exotic bird. I don't know what kind of bird it was, but it is an interesting community we have, because we have people that have a variety of interests, and to punish good owners for the actions of bad owners is a poor policy. Thank you all. Hope to see you on Saturday.
Thank you very much. And Madam President, that is all the individuals that I have for public comment at this time. And if you may start with civic comment with whomever you wish.
Thank you. Councilwoman Williams.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So I'd like to first address Ms. Ford. Ms. Ford's still here?
She's over there.
Oh, there, hi. So to partially answer your question regarding taxes, they are handled across the board for homeowners as well as landlords. So there's no specific tax increase on landlords. However, when things are reassessed or taxes go up, there is an appeal process just as there are for homeowners. So I know I'm not exactly answering your question for possibly where you want to, want information from it, but there is not a specific tax on landlords. There are fees for them to pay to become a landlord and remain registered as landlord. And perhaps that process needs to also be boned up to make sure they're living up to their expectations in the city. As far as programs, I know I gave you information on Trenton Neighborhood Initiative. Hopefully that's helpful. I'll continue trying to help you where I can with that. As far as the individual program that the city offers for families and women, that's something that actually has been discussed off and on in different details. But I think we need to talk to you further about exactly what your needs are for that. But there are other programs that you can look at, and that I will always be happy to help you with. Also, here we have Director Richardson, Natural Resource. She's a great resource of information to perhaps chat with, as well as Mr. Cruz, who's our business administrator in the front row. So I know you met Mr. Beach at the last meeting. So you're welcome. Yes, ma'am. And I'll respond to that in post haste. You're welcome. Thank you. And so I'd also like to just respond, Mr. Stallworth, thank you very much for chatting with me for a good while the other day. And thank you for coming to council to speak. These are important issues. I'm just going to flatly say, I don't think our training, there's something that's going wrong here, that it's not working, that people such as Ms. Deal and others are being unfairly ticketed. I think we need to step back potentially, and that's something that's not my role as a council person, but certainly the department. We need to find systematically what's going on, that we have parking enforcement officers, many of who do a great job and want to do the right job and follow the law, but there are too many stories of people getting tickets that they should not have gotten. And when we find out about it, we can't fix tickets. We're not to fix tickets, but citizens need to be able to go to traffic court, and if they're unfairly ticketed, they need to be able to have their ticket handled in a fair and equitable process, in a fair way. And I think as well-meaning as our crackdown on commercial vehicles is, and it's very, very well-meaning, folks like you are being swept up in that, and we do need to have the conversation and figure out a better way forward, because this is a problem all over the city. We have larger vehicles. We have a dump truck on my street. It's been there off and on the past 2 weeks. Dump trucks certainly should not be on any city street. But also when people call the police department when it's after hours for parking enforcement officers, the parking officers, the officers should be coming out and actually ticketing if they have nothing else going on their duty that night. We have to make the city safer and more livable for folks such as you and your wife and many others. And part of that is being able to park near your house. There are a lot of contractors, they honestly have to worry about their tools. I've had contractors come to my home and want to make sure the first thing they say, how close can I park? Because they're worried about having their tools taken, which is their livelihood. So again, thank you for coming. I believe we'll have a very good discussion going forward within council and with administration, and hopefully we can find some ways to have what was a good intention. Maybe there's some ways to fine tune. I mean, I think actually your suggestion of maybe a fee for maybe a parking pass, that's something we should look at. It doesn't help us create spaces, but maybe there's a way it can. So thank you, sir. Just also want to address, I don't have that much time. Regarding issues in the city. Sometimes, like we have an issue currently with in the Mill Hill section regarding a house that may be used for formerly incarcerated folks to begin their lives again. And I just want to say, part of when something happens, whether it's something like that affects a neighborhood or something, be able to bring people together to talk about issues.
Councilwoman, I do believe that is your 5 minutes.
May I ask for one more minute, ma'am? Thank you.
Thank you.
We need to recreate the expectation that we're going to have a conversation and not have people fly off the handle on the internet, because that does nothing positive. But also at the same point, the citizens have an expectation to be safe. And whether it was this past weekend with the lack of information, or even currently with the situation in Mill Hill with this particular house, I've tried to work to bring people to talk to the table with the church, with the neighborhood. Those conversations are going to happen with each other, and that's important because we're in a vacuum otherwise. And that's not a way to raise up the city and bring the city forward. And I'll just close. Tomorrow night is our Northwood CPAC meeting, 5:30 at Galilee Baptist Church, 440 Martin Luther King Boulevard. That's where I met Ms. Ford. Please come if you can, spread the word, because good things happen when we get together and talk about it, particularly with the police and the citizen. Thank you, ma'am.
Councilman Harrison.
Good evening, everyone. I know tonight 24-015 is on the docket. I sent a request out to the Department of Health. I want to see what the Department of Health stance on this is. So hopefully tonight we'll table this again so we can get more insight and recommendation from the Department of Health. And if they believe there are requirements that need to be met for, like, if somebody were to have them, you would have to have so much property. So I think that's one of the things we need to get from the Department of Health regulations and what their stance on it. That is also regarding like what my colleague just has spoken about, tractor trailers. We have a huge problem with that in this city. They're destroying our street. I've seen them where some of the tractor trailers have sideswiped people's cars, trying to get over to businesses. This is residential, it's not commercial. We shouldn't be allowing these 18-wheelers on our city streets because they're destroying our streets and they're hitting people's cars that are parked. So we definitely need to be enforcing this, that these tractor trailers should not be on our city streets. And I'm glad to hear tonight we had some update, but I'm actually going to work on that ordinance about chipping the dogs. I think it's a thing that we should be doing when people are renewing their licenses. We want to make sure that people are, if they are breeding these dogs, that they're not bringing back on the street, because right now we have 111 dogs and we're storing dogs over in PA, and that's a lot of money every year. And that's a lot of money that we could be used for other things. So with that said, on to my next colleagues. Thank you very much and have a blessed evening.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Gonzalez.
Thank you, Council President. First, thank you everyone for being present this evening. I want to say thank you to the police director and all of the officers and partnering officers that came out for the incident on Saturday. I didn't speak much about it the first time, but just to some of my colleagues' point, I think just the frustration was, we understand you have to make hard decisions and certain things are not, the public is not privy to. And so I understand that. I'm sure most of us do. I think just the frustration came when, the person wasn't in the home. And so how do we not know that he's not going to commit another crime in the city? Once we didn't know where he was. So I think that's where the miscommunication came from, but we do commend you. And I want to say thank you for everything that you have been doing. I know it's not an easy job, and prayers out to all of the families who were affected by this incident. I also agree with the social media posting. I mean, I understand that we can't, we want to try to, us as council people, we're trying to inform the public as much as possible. And so we have to learn, when and when not to do so. So thank you for bringing that, but we are learning as we go. I just want to say thank you to the PSCNG for the presentation and providing that information, and to the health department also for the update, as we all need that. To Mr. Stallworth, I agree. I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks. The parking has become an issue. The ticketing has become excessive and is sometimes wrongfully done. And I don't know what it is that we need to do with the Public Works Department as far as training them or even providing signs. If we're now enforcing certain areas that are not allowed to park in, that there are signs that are visible for our residents and people to see. It is not fair that, some people have permits already on their cars and they're still getting ticketed. Because not only do they get, they may have their tickets thrown out, but however, then they have to incur the court costs. So it's still a fee to the residents. I do believe in enforcing when we can't park somewhere, but I think there should be, there has to be something done. It's just excessive to me. And also to the work vans, maybe we can look into that, possibly having them file for a special permit if they have a work van in front of their home. I think that would be great. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. It's something that we can have some conversation about and converse with our director, possibly get that going. To Ms. Ford on the programs of Women's and Family, my council colleague, Ms. Williams kind of addressed that. So thank you for that. We do have someone that we passed an ordinance for who plans to provide homes for women and children in the near future. So hopefully that's coming within the next year or two. As far as the taxes and the rent increasing, we are currently working, I think some of us on this council have been working diligently about the rent stabilization board being active again. We are very close to having that board activated and getting it going. So that way some of these things do not occur, because it's getting ridiculous. As far as landlords increasing the rent just because of a tenant decides to complain about some things that are being done. We're working on a case right now with that situation. So trust me, we are trying to get that together. If I'm not mistaken, I believe we received about all of the positions, 7 people that expressed interest on being on the board. And if you are interested, please feel free to come on and submit a letter of interest, also a resume stating that you would like to be on the board for that, because we can use more people. Ms. Deal, thank you. I think she spoke about the ticketing also and responsible pet owners. So to the 24015, I agree with my council colleague right here. Maybe we should table it and maybe get some amendments, get some more feedback on it, as far as possibly making people register if they want to have the chicken in the city of Trenton. I think that may help us in that area. I think that was it for today. I do have a couple of announcements. I got a couple more seconds. Okay. Not that much time, but sometimes. So the Puerto Rican Community Friends, they will be providing free cuatro lessons, and that's a specific little guitar-looking instrument that we use in the Puerto Rican culture, and they will be providing free lessons from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. On May 18th, 25th, June 8th, and June 5th, along with free Spanish classes. So if anyone would like to speak Spanish or learn to speak Spanish, they are providing free classes for that at Mercer County College. I believe Ms. Deal mentioned the Trenton Artworks that will be going on this Saturday. Also, we had the Trenton Punk Rock Flea Market.
Councilwoman, I'm
First off,
sorry,
I took
but
up
that
my
is
whole
your
5
your time.
minutes. I should be allotted more. I never use my 5
That thing's better than the Academy
Thank you all for being
Awards. It's like I
present.
could just, you know?
Y'all was gonna hear my lesson, but no, thank you so much for being present.
Councilwoman Frisbee.
So thank you, Council President. So good evening, everyone. I wanted to just readdress, I wanted to thank Director Wilson once again for clarifying that we did not have an active shooter, but and then allowing us to understand better proper protocol for when things are happening and allowing those who are in charge to actually do just that. And what we should be doing is we're just directing questions to our officers, just like we would if there was a fire, just like if there was EMS, we would take it to the directors, we would take it to those offices. So thank you for that, and thank you for clarification on that. I did want to address also, I wanted to thank again PSCNG for their thorough presentation, and to, of course, our Health and Human Services Division. You guys did a great job. I really appreciate you coming out. That's going to help the community a great deal with understanding what's going on, instead of making assumptions and people hear things in the community and it's misinformation that comes out. I think that we're going to, I'm going to go past that right now. I do want to address the parking. Parking does parking is becoming a bit of an issue, and we need to figure out how we can get a happy median. People should be allowed to park in front of their homes, and especially if it is a commercial van. I love the idea of, if it's not a tractor trailers don't belong here in our community, but if you have a work truck, that just like if PSCG came and they are Verizon or AT&T and they had to park in front of your house to complete their work, there's no reason why you should not be able to do the same exact thing. You should not be ticketed at 10 a.m. during the actual work day. So that's something we need to tweak, sit down and go over and find out how we can get a much better balance with that. I'm glad folks are doing their job, but we just have to make sure that we are honoring all of those, especially we don't want you to leave after 10 years, and especially having a wife who is differently abled, I like to say, and her health needs her to be there. I wanted to also say with Ms. Jill Wilford, we are excited about renaming of Samaritan and giving the honor where honor is actually due. We know that your pastor and his wife, who's now deceased, has done great and continues continuing to do great work for our community, and it is well-deserved honor. So I'm excited about that. I'm grateful that it was actually put forth. Taxes, yes, I'm excited that we're working on the taxes. We absolutely need to get rent stabilization, especially when it's going up, not just for moms and dads, but for our seniors. That is really problematic with our seniors who can't afford. They are now making a decision on how they're going to either eat or keep the light bill on or pay their rent. And that ought not be a question for them. They ought to be able to relax in their golden years. So I want to make sure that we are addressing that. I did want to make a couple of announcements. One is Task Mobile. They are partnered with For the Glory of God and the Smith Family Foundation, where every Monday at 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., they will be serving hot food, free food, delicious food at 471 Parkway Avenue in Trenton, New Jersey. Again, that is at 471 Parkway Avenue, Trenton, New Jersey. Task will be out there serving food, and you please tell someone to come out there. Let's take it advantage. Let them know that we appreciate them. But come out and get a meal. If you're running for lunch or you have someone in the area, you will not be disappointed. And I have flyers for that in both English and in Spanish. So you can come on out, Task with for the Glory of God and the Smith Foundation. Also, I want to do a social media announcement. Passage Theater is having their 2024 gala on April 6th at 6 p.m. at the Trenton Country Club. Tickets are $125. We ask you to come out and support, especially since one of the honorees is our very own director, Miss Maria Richardson Hernandez Richardson. So I would love to have us come out, as many as possible, to come out and support this great endeavor. They do great work in the city, and there's just support. And I want to close by saying that the city of Trenton recognizes that the people of Trenton have made us guardians of the public trust. We are committed to govern with integrity and fiscal responsibility, to seek excellence in the city's operations, and to serve all the city's people with respect and compassion. And I beat the clock.
Thank you.
Very nice, I might add.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Councilwoman Edwards, thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I want to start off with the most recent incident, just in closing. Again, to reiterate, I would like to commend law enforcement and the street team on their swift actions to, just address the situation. And I'm glad that the perpetrator was apprehended without any type of further incidents. And my heart and my condolences go to the family of those he had taken the lives of. I do want to say this, I don't believe that it's a need to know when we're talking about public safety when it comes to our community. Obviously, we have a lot of people that do not take things seriously and will flock to a crime scene. And if they're not being told that it's on a certain level of seriousness, especially when you don't have all the information you need, I think people should have been alerted. So I'm going to stand my ground on that. And I would want to respectfully address the social media post that I made. I shared the information on Facebook the moment I saw it on the news, before I got word from the administration or anything like that. My social media post was not in response to any type of contact from the administration or any type of official or employee of the city of Trenton. They were from residents, they were from the news, and I watched the news all day long to make sure my city was safe, my family was safe, my children were safe. And that was the end of the story. Obviously, there was not all accurate information, further evidence that I did not release any type of privy information, but was reacting to what was going on in our community. And I felt like the people needed to know so that they would not put themselves in harm's way. End of story. So I will not apologize for posting on social media, as I felt that people needed to know. And I was not told not to, because I didn't feel like it impeded an investigation when it was already public information widely spread. So it was no intent to step on the toes of the mayor or the administration or the police director or his department in no way, shape, or form. So I come from a good place of just wanting people to be on alert so that you're safe. That's it. Moving on. Ordinance 24-015, I am opposed to. This ordinance directly supersedes what the state says in its laws, its statutes. I have shared that with my council colleagues, and the ordinance unfortunately has not been amended from banning chickens and emus. And I would not like to see us in violation of state law and be fined for that as well. So I would just, again, urge my colleagues to reconsider not excluding the chickens, and if we must, not exclude the emus, but to enforce proper habitats, proper cleaning, proper care. If we have to have emus, then it needs to be a certain size yard. It needs to be a certain size height of fence so that these birds are not escaping and running down the street. It's not safe for them, obviously, and just to enforce. I know we do have enforcement issues when it comes to resources financially, so we need to address that as well, because obviously we do need this, but the state has, they said what they said. They gave the emu back. So I think that we should move forward with just enforcing proper protocols from our residents and making sure these animals are kept safely in the proper habitats. Lastly, I would like to support the resolution for the honorary naming of Bishop Joseph Ravenel Way. Samaritan Baptist Church has been a pillar in the North Ward and in the city of Trenton for over 40 years. As you heard Minister Wolford speak about, I would like to personally just thank him. I wish that he was here, but I will see him next month at his event honoring him. He has been, his doors has always been open to the community. I have been honored and had the privilege of hosting 7 homeless feedings on Thanksgiving from 2014 to 2021. And the only reason why is, so I appreciate the support for this church in the honorary renaming and good evening.
Councilwoman, I believe that is your 5 minutes. I'm sorry.
She can go ahead if you want to say one last thing, because I'm going to defer. Thank you, Mr. Garcia, for being on point. I really appreciate you. I'm not being defiant. Thank you. Don't get me later. I'm sorry.
Same here. No worries. No worries.
So
just
go ahead and
doing my
finish
job.
what you were going to say, Councilwoman Edwards. And then before Council Vice President speaks, Councilwoman Frisbee has a quick announcement that she wanted to make that she overlooked. So go ahead, Councilwoman.
I just want to say in closing, I just would like for council to consider voting in favor of the honorary renaming, as the Ravenels have been a pillar in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. So I just want to announce Weston Little League presents a fitness fundraiser with everybody, EB Fit, on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. It actually started March 12th. They have $5 donations, and it's at the West End Batting Cage, Artiston Avenue, right off of Hermitage. For more information, it has numbers on here for various individuals, but come out, let's get our children active, moving about. And if you need to see a flyer, if you want to take a picture, you are welcome. I will have this at the end of council.
Council Vice President.
Yes, thank you. Okay, good evening, everybody. I promise I will try to be quick tonight. So with regards to the wildlife ordinance, I just wanted to say that I look forward to taking the concerns into consideration, worried primarily about inhumane issues of keeping these types of animals captive without proper care. I'm sure that we as a council can come to an agreement in a way that potentially keeps, the chickens under proper care and while following proper guidelines as per state statute. I look forward to having further conversations regarding that and what is and what is not allowed. I know that my South Ward residents are being or feel like they will be attacked or seriously affected by this wildlife ordinance. And I want to speak to them and, their means and the needs of their families and revenue and things like that, why they keep these chickens. But I agree with my council colleague about, you know, making sure and with the ability to have the proper enforcement to make sure that these animals are properly kept, you know, their coops are clean, their yards are clean, you know, and we are not impeding on health and wellness of our, you know, fellow residents. With that, I do agree that reptiles should not be part of this ordinance whatsoever. I do agree to keep the emu in the ordinance should we move forward with it. Just for the record, exotic birds, I'm okay. We don't need to have that ordinance. So I do want to read a statement from a Southward constituent who could not be here because she felt ill tonight. This is her opinion on the wildlife ordinance. Pam Lupinetti at 102 Roebling says chickens carry a litany of diseases, salmonella being number one. For those who were hospitalized in contact with a backyard bird, they had chicken. After researching on the CDC website about illness caused by backyard birds, I strongly urge council to leave the chickens on a farm where they receive you know, proper balanced feeding and are housed in a clean, well-maintained coop. We have been moving forward with this council. Let's not go back and reverse. So that was her opinion and her opinion only, and I wanted to read it for her in her absence this evening. With regards to parking, Mr. Stallworth, yeah, conversation with the parking authority, people thinking they are parking appropriately, but we have had no enforcement for such a long time in the city. And I know right now it is kind of shocking to people, and we need to make sure that people are aware of what these ordinances look like and how we are supposed to be parking, because we need to be fair to everybody in the city as well. With regards to your utility vehicle, you are able and within your right to be there at 10 a.m. and not receive a ticket. So I do encourage you to take that information and go the proper channels to fight that ticket, because the ordinance for utility vehicles is that you cannot park on the streets between the hours, I believe 8 or 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. in the morning. So I appreciate your concerns. And this is something, you know, me living where I live next to the ballpark and the arena, we have so many parking issues. So my residents want more enforcement. And I realize others, you know, want just fair and proper. And you are right. There are some, and I think, Ms. Deal, you said it as well, there are improper tickets being given out, and they're being very, very nitpicky as to where these permits are being placed in the vehicles. And we need to have some level of leniency, you know, when it comes to that. So thank you guys for bringing that to our attention, as it is something we have been continuing to work on. Other than that, I just wanted to say that I had a great event today, helping out Trenton Community Street Team. We were in the South Ward, and it was really interesting. We knocked on a lot of doors, and you know, a lot of people who readily don't want to speak to a politician because they think just politics as usual. But Trenton Community Street Team did an amazing job of getting some of these people to open up and address their concerns, and they took to the resources that were being afforded to them, and they were very, very open and honest about their concerns. So that was really, really great. With regard to the animal breeding ordinance, yes, Yvette, you were not there, and I apologize for that. Our police director was there, Detective Rios was there. There were some other task officers that were there, Hilo officers as well, and one of our law attorney, or one of our attorneys for the city. And I did think that Director Richardson was apprised. I know that she was not in that meeting. I think she was not able to attend. So yes, I just wanted to clear that up. And I look forward to sitting down with you and whomever else needs to be in that room and making whatever amendments that make sense. Because I want to get that enforcement done. Southward Neighborhood Association is having a Southward cleanup this Saturday, 11 to 1 p.m. on Lamberton Street at Federal at the Community Garden. That's where it's starting. So if you're not doing anything and you want to help out, give back, please come out. Other than that, and Councilwoman Edwards are having an event.
Councilwoman, I
April
believe that
6th.
is also your 5 minutes.
Let's talk South Trenton at 1 up, 1 down at 748 Cass Street at 1:30 p.m. to 3. So please come out, and I will give you guys another reminder at our next meeting before the event. So thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. The next of the next of the next of the next. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us. Woo, felt like I was at the eye doctor. Thank you so much for being with us. this evening once again to Mr. Bukowski, to Mr. Stallworth, Ms. Wolford, Ms. Ford, and Ms. Deal. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your suggestions. And thank you for being actively engaged in the process. This is how it works. It's through people coming forward, speaking up, the conversations. Tell us what you think. Tell us how you feel. And I am hopeful that you see that with this council, we are actually working with the administration to get real solutions that are going to help the residents, help the city, but also keep everybody in order too, where we need to be. But we have an open ear to the needs of the people. And we're working to do the best that we can to make our city a better place. To that being said, I would like to thank Director Onateri and Public Works. We did a senior citizen garbage can initiative where if you were 62 and older, you got a free 32-gallon garbage can with the city of Trenton. We ended up giving out, well, they ended up, I got the information and sent it over. I was like going crazy with it, but they ended up giving out over 100 and maybe 5 garbage cans throughout the city to our seniors. So thank you for that. I stopped collecting information for right now, just to give you all a little break. You're welcome, right? And then we'll pick back up a little bit down the line. Thank you to Director Douglas. We also did a smoke detector initiative where they will come out, Trenton Fire Department, and install free smoke detectors in your home. So far, we've taken in about 30 residents with information. So thank you for doing that. We appreciate your due diligence with that. Speaking of Trenton Fire Department, this Thursday, March 21st, they are honoring women in public safety and community service here in our City Hall atrium from 2:30 to 4:30 p.m. This is put on by Mayor Riga Sciorra and the Department of Fire and Emergency Services. So if you're around, please come out. The keynote speaker is Lieutenant Bethesda Stokes, and it's for Women's History Month. They want to honor those heroes who came before by honoring those who are here now. Trenton Central High School, we're having the play, The Lightning Thief, the Percy Jackson musical, March the 22nd at 7 p.m. and then March the 23rd at 3 p.m. at the high school. Adults 18 and above, tickets are only $8. Students below 18, well, 17 and below, $5. The show runs 2 hours and 15 minutes, and you can get tickets at our.show/TCHS-lightning. If you want more information about that, you can email me, cfeliciano@trentonNJ.org, and I can get that to you. On 3/22, Fathers and Men's United is having their annual father-daughter dance from 5 to 9 p.m. at 715 Bellevue Avenue. Our very own Councilwoman Josie Edwards always is a big part of that, emceeing and helping usher that along. So we look forward to everything that goes along with that. And I believe Councilwoman Frisbee was there when they did a fitting with the girls recently. So thank you for participating and everything with that. This Saturday, the 23rd of March from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., the Boys and Girls Club of Mercer County is having their girls conference out on Spruce Street. There's a host of guest speakers. I'll be one of the presenters for all 3 age brackets that will be there. So I'm looking forward to that. On March the 27th, that's a Wednesday, our culinary 3 students at Trenton Central High School are going to be doing their culinary dinner for family and friends at the high school, and that's from 5:30 to 7 p.m. So we're looking forward to that, right, and celebrating our youth as they continue to push through and do great things. For those that are interested in serving our city, we currently have openings on our ethics board, the Trenton Parking Authority, the zoning board, and the Senior Citizen Advisory Board. We are taking applications or resumes until the closeout is March the 29th. You can email boards and commissions, BOARDSAND commissions @TrentonNJ.org. We want you to come out and serve the city, help us to get things in order. Shout out to Mr. Garcia, our clerk, who actually, he held an in-house Oprah training today for the different departments here in the city, looking to make things better, looking to streamline things, having great conversations as to how we can get through the process. So thank you for taking that on and for making that happen. You are appreciated. Again, thank you all for coming out tonight. I appreciate each and every one of you.
All right, and she made time. Madam President, at this time, we can move on to the docket.
All right, let's go.
And we have minutes for approval, which will be sent to you and you may vote on Thursday. Communications and petitions as well. Ordinances for second reading and public hearing. I will run through the title. Ordinance 24-15, an ordinance regulating the keeping of certain animals and wildlife in the city of Trenton. And Madam President, if you want, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I believe Councilman Harrison, with regard to 24015, are we tabling this again?
Get a recommendation from.
Okay, yes. So we'd like to table this until we get a recommendation. I'd like to make a motion that we table ordinance 24015 until we receive a recommendation from the health department.
So
Second.
That was moved by the council president. Was that seconded by, I'm sorry?
Frisbee.
Thank you. So moving second, I'll call the roll. Councilwoman Edwards.
Yes.
Vice President Figueroa Kettner.
Yes.
Councilwoman Frisbee.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
Yes, yes.
Councilman Harrison. Councilwoman Williams.
Yes.
And Council President Feliciano.
Yes,
Motion carried. The item is tabled until, I'm sorry.
until we receive word from the Department of Health.
Okay.
Indefinitely, until we
Tabled
receive
indefinitely.
word from the
Thank you.
Department of Health. Thank you.
Noted. Moving on to ordinance 24-16. Ordinance amending ordinance 23-25, creating a senior citizen advisory council by the city of Trenton, reintroduced to correct errors.
Mr. Garcia, I'm sorry, point of order. Please forgive me. We'd actually like to give a timeline for 2 weeks. So for the second meeting, right? For the second meeting in April? Wait 1 second. Okay.
Here's April. So should we go May 7th?
So May
Give more
7th.
time.
Okay, so May 7th, we want to table 24015 until May 7th.
Okay, so we had a motion to table indefinitely. Can I have
I'd
a
like to,
motion table
I'd
for
like
May
to
7th?
remove that motion. I want to take it back.
Recent.
I don't want it anymore. So I'd
don't want
like
it
to
anymore?
withdraw the motion. I was trying to find a word. I'd like to withdraw the motion for 24015.
Rescind, okay.
Thank you.
Withdraw, okay, thank you.
And I'd like to
Make a motion
make a
for-
motion to table ordinance 24015 until May 7th.
Until
Second.
May 7th.
So
Thank you.
moved.
Motion second. I believe that's by the same individuals, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. It's been moved and second. I'll call the roll once again. Roll call, Councilwoman Edwards.
Yes.
Vice President Figueroa Kettner.
Yes.
Councilwoman Frisbee.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
Yes.
Councilman Harrison.
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams.
Yes.
And Council President Frisbee.
Council President.
Council President Feliciano, I apologize.
Yes.
I'm looking at on autopilot. I apologize. Motion carried. Item is tabled until May 7th. Correct? May
Yes.
7th. Thank you. Moving on to ordinance 24-17, ordinance amending ordinance 23-050 to release, vacate, and extinguish.
Mr.
Any-
Garcia, what happened to 24-16?
Oh, I'm sorry. We are at 24-16 now. 24-16, ordinance amending ordinance 23-25, creating a senior citizen advisory council by the city of Trenton, reintroduced to correct errors.
Have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I believe we vote on Thursday for these items.
Right,
Oh.
okay. Okay, never mind.
It's just
We got happy.
Right. Let's just keep.
If there's no other questions, Madam President, I'll move on.
Yes.
Certainly. Ordinance 24-17, ordinance amending ordinance 23-050 to release, vacate, and extinguish any and all public rights in and to the remaining portion of Baker Alley.
That ordinance number was correct. Oh, yeah. it was.
Any questions?
Who is Baker? Just kidding.
Not bad. Moving to ordinance 24-19, an ordinance to release, vacate, and extinguish any and all public rights in a portion of Hannum Alley.
We don't know who had him is either. Keep going.
Moving on, moving on to resolutions. And Madam President, if you would like to ask, are there any items that the council would like to extract from a consent agenda.
I would like 24-103 roll call.
Noted.
Anyone else? Anyone have resolutions?
No others?
Hold on.
Oh.
Thank you. I'm good.
Madam President,
Yes.
I would like 24-104 and 105 to be roll call.
Yeah. Which one is that? I'm sorry.
24-104 and 24-105.
Noted.
You want them roll called or you want to ask questions on it? You want to discuss it?
Well, I think I want it roll called because I asked in our executive session, our docket review for information about these entities.
All
and
right, so
I
you'll
appreciate
want to discuss it when
We
you're,
could discuss
okay,
it,
thank
that's
you. You have any other ones?
No.
Anyone else?
And Madam President, I do want to call to your attention, walk-on resolution 24 what will be 24-116. That is a resolution authorizing contract awarded to Winter Ford for the purchase of 22 2025 Police Interceptor utility marked and unmarked vehicles for Patrol and Criminal Investigation Bureau for Trenton Police Department, awarded through New Jersey State Contract 20 Fleet 01189 in an amount not to exceed $1,006,282. This is a one-time purchase.
That's fine. Based on my conversation with BA Cruz and the necessity of this situation with getting these vehicles, I have no problem walking it on. Thank you.
Understood. Are there any?
24-116.
Are there any other items to be pulled for roll call?
Which one did you say? 24-103.
103.
Hold on one second. 115.
I think she said 105.
Wait a minute. The man. Mr. Garcia.
Yeah.
Can someone tell us who drafted the resolution 24-115?
115. One moment.
You signed it. Was this Public Works? Here it is right here. You signed it, Wes.
115, that's revenue. Oh, yeah, it's off. It's,
Got your mic
oh,
on. Please. We can continue.
Okay,
Does
moving.
anyone else have anything else that they would like pulled or just to move to the side to discuss? The 115? You can continue.
Okay, hearing no other items to be excluded from the consent agenda, we will move on to ordinances for first reading.
Wait a
Ordinance,
minute, we have
oh, I'm sorry, did you want to entertain
we had a
questions
couple,
for?
we have 24-103, 24-104, and 24-105.
Are there, I take
don't
it there
have it.
questions
I
on
don't-
those items?
I don't have any questions on 24-103. I just wanted roll call. 24-104 CVP, you have questions on that?
Yes.
Okay, she has questions.
So I had the same question for 24-104 and for 24-105. My question was asked in DACA review, and I think Mr. Cherry was supposed to have some information for me with regards to what these organizations have done and what they plan to do specifically with the money, but also, you know, what have they done up to this date, and that we'll be awarding them this ARPA money.
Good evening, Jim Beach, Chief of Staff. So let me start with 24-104, which is the Global Youth Transformation Initiative Group. They've been around since 2020. What they do is their kind of total philosophy is to take children from urban environments and subject them or expose them to different cultural aspects that they normally would not be privy to in their day-to-day. This includes travel, both international as well as domestic travel. As I said, they started in 2020, and then COVID came along in 2021, which severely hampered their abilities to do these programs. They then switched over to more kind of computer-based programs. But now that we're out of COVID, their intention is to proceed and start to do what their original kind of mission is.
Funding and the funding moving forward outside of just obviously a grant for ARPA funds. What was their funding? How are they receiving monies for their program?
You know, they go out and they seek and solicit donations from different organizations and private individuals.
Okay, and when we take in these applications, do we get documentation regarding like, you know, numbers and actual stats of what these organizations have done? Like the physicality of, you know, the stats. Do we ever get that at all, or is it
I mean,
proposal?
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Certainly, we are free to request that from them before anything is approved or agreed upon.
Okay, that's what I requested from Mr. Cherry.
That was not shared with me, Councilwoman.
Okay,
so.
yes, if I could just have that information prior to Thursday's meeting, that would be perfect, possibly, if that's available.
I'm sorry, just to be clear, what type of information you want?
Just kind of stats. I mean, we've given a lot of ARPA funds, you know, to a lot of different organizations, nonprofits and things like that. You know, we rarely have those visuals of, you know, what they were using their monies for, how were they requiring their monies prior to, you know, and what the monies are going to go to. So I just want to know, you know, that our money is going to the right places.
No, that's fine. I mean, I can go back and check. It may be part of their original application package. Again, that request was not shared with me. They all need to submit their tax returns. They usually all have a pretty substantial narrative as to what they've done and what they're going to use the monies for. And so, yeah, I'll go back and I'll take a look at their application first. If it's not in there, then I'll go to the organization and request it directly.
I appreciate that for 104 and 105.
Okay, so the same,
Same thing. Yep.
that's easy.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mitch.
I was gonna say, Mr. Beach, actually, since we're meeting tomorrow about the ARPA funds, if you could have that tomorrow for our meeting when we get
I
together.
can certainly check the application by
Mhm.
tomorrow. If it's not in the application,
That's fine.
then I'll need to go back to the applicants.
Okay, thank you.
Remaining for roll call, Vice President?
Yes,
Okay,
104 and 105. So 103, 104, and 105 will be roll call.
thank you.
Thank you.
And are there any other questions regarding any other resolutions?
If I just might speak just real fast on 105, which is work well. Just want to say, having some familiarity with this program. They're located at the First Presbyterian Church, and I think it would be a worthwhile program for us to support. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm familiar with them as well to come to Tidy Back, but to CVP's point, this was something that she had raised at docket review, that she wanted the information that was supposed to be brought forward for that. So thank you. Mr. Garcia.
Certainly. So with that being done and no other items, no other questions on resolutions and no other items to be pulled.
You know what? Wait, I'm sorry. Forgive me. Just
No,
real
that-
quick. Oh, not for resolutions. I have a question on the new ordinance that we're going to be talking about. That's fine. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Moving on to ordinance for first reading, ordinance 24-20, ordinance supplementing and amending chapter 309, water and sewer of the code of the city of Trenton by adding article, sorry, that's mandates, excuse me, article, what was that, 9? Mandatory replacement of lead service. I don't know why I didn't know that. Mandatory replacement of lead service lines in conformance with New Jersey state law. Are there any questions regarding this ordinance? Moving on to 24-021, ordinance amending ordinance 2000-18, entitled an ordinance continuing certain positions, fixing salary ranges, therefore, and setting forth certain regulations for the implementation of these ranges. AFSCME Local 2286, Senior Radio Dispatcher. Any questions regarding this particular ordinance? Hearing none, moving on, 24-22, an ordinance of the city of Trenton in County of Mercer, New Jersey, amending ordinances to rescind special assessment in connection with lead service line replacement project.
I have a question. I have a question. Good evening, Director Semple.
Good evening, Council President. Good evening, Council.
Thank you. Just a quick question. Just for a little bit of clarity, when we met and we discussed this in docket review, I asked a question about, we want to, in the last whereas, we have here authorizes Trenton Water Works to recoup the cost of the lead service line replacement project from all subscribers of the public water system, i.e. through the water system rates rather than through the special assessment imposed against particular property owners. Does that mean that our rates at some point are going to increase?
Council President, at this time, we have to do a rate study regardless of what concerning our water rates. You know, we have the cheapest water in the whole of New Jersey.
Right.
And at one point, we have to be able to sustain ourselves with all the work that we're doing regarding the lead line service. But this has nothing to do with a rate increase. We were not able to bill each and every resident in the phase 1 and 2 because we didn't have the platform to do so. So we had to rescind this in order to make it free and mandatory moving forward, because we lost a great opportunity to do more in phase 1 and 2 because of like landlords refusing to let us go in. So making it free, we're hoping to get a lot more done during that our next phases.
Okay. But at some point in time, our rates are going to increase.
It's based on the study. We have to do a rate study. It's been how many years?
And also, there was something where if the people don't let you in, there will be penalties and everything that will be assessed for this?
Council President, if I may interject,
Okay.
just point of order. This is actually the Tuesday introductory meeting. The hearing and any discussion and question is properly held on Thursday.
I'm
So,
sorry. Okay.
so that's when that's.
We can go back.
this is just
Okay, I'm sorry.
This is at the next meeting. So this isn't really the proper protocol for these questions.
Okay. I'm sorry, Director Simple. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll see you Thursday. We won't be. No.
Second. That's not Thursday.
This is the first reading. Yeah. Can be read by title and discussed on the second reading. On your call, Madam President.
Go ahead.
Madam President, this time we don't have any, I don't believe I have any other items. I believe it's time for us, if you would like to ask for a motion to go into executive session.
May I have a motion, please, to go into
Certainly.
executive session?
Executive session is not needed for this issue.
For this-
I'll have a memorandum out to council regarding the issue that I can disseminate to them.
That sounds good to me. Madam President, if there's nothing further, no other items, I believe we can have a motion to adjourn.
1 second, point of order. Before we do that, we have to list everything that's going to be on consent agenda?
I can announce the items remaining for consent agenda, yes.
Thank you.
The consent agenda would consist of 24-101, 24-114, 24-102.
We don't need 24-101, right? Because that's the one going into.
Well, now no
executive
longer
session,
needed.
so
My
we're not going
apologies.
in.
From 114, 102, 106, 107, 108, 109, 111, 112, 113, 115, and 116 are the remaining items for the consent agenda.
1 second, Mr. Director Bridges. To take it off. Okay, with that, okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Garcia. We can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Moving second, I'll call the roll. Councilwoman Edwards,
Yes. We're not doing it.
Vice President Figueroa Kettenberg, Councilwoman Frisbee,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilman Harrison,
Yes.
and I do.
She said, "Do it."
What? Huh? Where are we? Councilman Harrison, did you say yes?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams
Yes.
and Council President Feliciano.
Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
carried, meeting adjourned. What I do? Good.